Holloway to Fowler. Waits. Backdoor, they score! What a play! Patience to the back of the net, and Dylan Holloway has the Blues on top. Blues get it in front. The pass to Thomas. He scores! Robert Thomas. Holloway and Thomas check it loose. They score! What a goal by Snuggerud! A beautiful pass, and Jimmy Snuggerud snipes it in. 3-0 St. Louis. Bring out the Zamboni. 5th shutout of the season for Joe Hofer. A 4-game winning streak for the St. Louis Blues.
Yeah, of course they're winning now. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN.
So frustrating.
They hadn't won 3 games in a row all year. Now they've won 4 in a row, Alex.
Now you decide to go out there and be the better team.
And it is in large part because guess what? Their best players are playing better. Who could have seen it coming?
Man, if only that could have happened, in October or November.
What do you make of this, Alex? They are now, as of today, I think it's the 5th overall selection. They were 2nd 5 days ago.
You're screwing it up!
How you feeling about where the Blues are at?
I mean, a little pissed off, to be honest with you, because we endured what we endured as Blues fans for, 4 months of acting as if, from the end of the season last year when they got bounced by Winnipeg, throughout the offseason when Pius Suter was added and they traded for Mailloux, and then you go into training camp and preseason, all of us felt like the way that the Blues have been playing in the last 6 games is how they were going to play all season, right? Like, they had that identity, they had the ability, and they just, every single time they went, they took the ice. So a little frustrated that this is what the product is looking like right now. But on the flip side of it, man, you're watching them play, and it's like, oh, okay, Jimmy Snuggerud's finally breaking out of his shell. Oh, okay, Thomas and Holloway are healthy. Joel Hofer's starting to get real comfortable. Defensively, Logan Mailloux feels like he knows who he is on the ice. It's starting to get real eerie of what the Blues are doing now versus what they did when they came out of the Four Nations break. Last year, they won 4 of their first 5 games. This season, won 4 of their first 5 games. Last year, had their first 3-game win streak out of the Olympic break. This year, had their first 3-game win streak out of the Olympic break.
Last year, made the playoffs. This year,
not making
misses it by probably 2 points and gets a terrible pick. But like last year, in their first 6 games back, they allowed 15 goals. This season, in their first 6 games back, they've allowed 9 goals. Thomas is red hot like he was last year out of the break. Holloway's red hot. All of the elements are starting to play together. Oh, and by the way, nobody in the Western Conference seems to want to take that wild card spot. So, man, it's weird. I'm 50-50 because one part of me is excited, hey, they're finally playing well. Now you can start to see it. The other part of me is frustrated because it's like if you go on a run for a month and a half and make everybody believe that things are fine and then do the same thing next year, welcome to insanity.
Yeah, we're not doing that. Nobody actually believes in it this time around, right?
No, I didn't believe in it last time around either.
I want to say that I don't believe it, but
at least last time around there were ways that you could talk yourself into it. There's not this time. There's no way you could actually believe in what they're trying to do. I'm fine with them playing a little better. I don't think it's sustainable because I don't think the team is very good.
Great, I got a clip.
Man, everything you're saying I want to believe, but I can't believe it because I know that they have it.
Epic.
I know they have, their goaltending.
They're also further behind this time.
That's the thing. But here's the factor into it. Seattle, you just beat. You took 2 or 3 against them. They've played 500 hockey and have not been good really since January. The San Jose Sharks you just beat. They've lost 4 in a row, and you play them 2 more times this month. The LA Kings, you see them 1 more time. They've played with 7 losses in their last 10 games. The Nashville Predators, you don't play them anymore. I think maybe you play them 1 more time. They've got 6 losses in their last 10. You and the Winnipeg Jets are the hottest team right now in the Western Conference below the playoff-eligible teams, and you just beat 3 playoff teams and 1 team that's trying to get into the playoffs. I want to believe everything you're saying, but everything in me is going, they're going to do this again, and it is going to piss me off.
The playoff teams right now are about a .540 points percentage. The Blues are at a .465 points percentage. It's just really hard to make the math work. I mean, you would have to go, legitimately would have to break the franchise record for wins in a row.
I'm only laughing because if we go back and listen to the show last year out of the Four Nations break, I really think you were saying the same thing.
I know there's fewer games remaining.
And you were closer.
And you're behind by more. And you sold this time. Where last year you decided to hold.
Yeah.
This year you did actually go out there and sell to, even if you don't think they were great players, good players that helped you win hockey games. So I just think the situations are honestly quite different than they were a year ago. Now, what is similar, and this is where I do think it's quite interesting, is your best player stepped up a level a year ago. Robert Thomas became the #1 player in the NHL when it came to his points post Four Nations faceoff. Well, guess what, guys? The top line's playing well again. Over their 2 games over the weekend, they outscored the opposition 3-0. Robert Thomas looked amazing in those 2 games. He looked as though, all right, this is what it is when he's got 2 legit top-line wingers with him. Jimmy Snuggerud played well. Dylan Holloway just looks healthy. This is not surprising.
Yeah.
This is the player we expected him to be coming into the season. I don't think he's really been healthy this year, basically at any point. I think it was a weird start because he's coming back from this really significant injury. Not sure he totally trusted that he was 100% back to his form. He started to get back closer to that, and then you had the leg injuries. So then you have him trying to come back too early. He re-aggravates it. Then he's got to, get himself right. And now we're seeing what it looks like when Dylan Holloway, who last year just shattered all expectations for us, is back to himself once again. So I'm not altogether surprised that Thomas, Holloway, and Snuggerud are good and talented players that now have some chemistry. I am very excited, though, that we get the opportunity to see them play together because it is not something that we've seen much of this season, Alex.
Yeah, so they've got 21 points in 6 games since the break and really only 4 for Robert Thomas, and they're a combined plus 19. So, they're playing like a #1 line right now. I think, at least for me, that's the more frustrating part, BK, and I try and rationalize it, what you just did, to where, look, none of these guys were healthy at the same time. You started off the season where everyone was healthy, but they try and recreate some of that magic of Holloway and Kyrou, and they let it stretch for a little bit. Same with Buch and Snuggerud. By the time you started juggling things up in November, you had Thomas get injured in that Detroit game that was nagging him for a while, then Snuggerud's wrist surgery, then you had Dylan Holloway go down. So none of them have been at the point where they're at right now. What the hard part, I guess, to rationalize with it is this believable?
No.
Or is this just a hot streak?
Yes.
I agree.
And that's the hard part for me to get super excited about, because they could do this the rest of the way and be the best line in the National Hockey League, and I could say, woo, you found your best line. But I thought that last year, and Buchnevich came out cold, Kyrou and Holloway came out cold, and we were talking about not having the players that get the job done. So I hope it continues. I hope they have found and unlocked the #1 line, because Holloway's got top line potential. Thomas has top line already potential. So does Jimmy Snuggerud. The question is, can you do it for 82 games, not for 24 games?
Exactly, because as we've seen over the last, 3 years, 4 years, typically we don't see the Blues playing at their best till there's a shot across the bow from Doug Armstrong. And what I mean by that...
Or a break.
But didn't play well. I've had Craig Berube fired. Then they played a little better under Drew Bannister. Didn't play well to start the year with Drew Bannister. They fire Drew Bannister. They get motivated under Jim Montgomery / the break that occurs. And now you have a break on top of motivation of Doug Armstrong basically saying, all right, I don't believe in you guys. We need to sell off. We're selling Schenn. We're selling Falk. Oh, by the way, I'm going to try and trade Parayko. Oh, by the way, Thomas, I'm putting your name in the rumor mill for all 31 other teams to have a conversation with us about.
Kyrou gets benched in the game.
Kyrou gets benched. Kyrou's name was definitely being floated out there as well. I mean, another shot across the bow from the general manager of Doug Armstrong. And then guess what? No surprise to me that all of a sudden they look a little bit more motivated and are playing some of their best hockey again.
Here's the part, if you just look at the rest of March, they got the Islanders tomorrow. It's going to be a tough game.
Oh, hat trick for Schenn.
Carolina, going to be a tough game, although they beat Carolina already this season. Edmonton, a struggling Edmonton Oilers team.
Yeah, but I mean, I'll be at that game. They're losing.
Or they're winning because you BKO'd them. The Jets, that's the team in the race with them. And then you've got Calgary, Vancouver, Washington, San Jose, Toronto, San Jose. April's going to be a gauntlet March is like where you look at it and you say, yeah, I could see him going on some type of run, and a lot of it's going to be because of those best players.
Yeah, and if they go on a little bit of a mini run, so be it, and they'll end up with like the 7th overall selection. And then they'll get into April, and they'll drop back down because they're going up against some of these better teams, and they'll end up in the top 4 or 5. It's just such a significant gap that they have to close. It's not 2025 all over again. It's not. This is quite
what about
different.
2019?
It's not 2019 all over again. You do have a good goalie.
Hell yeah, you do.
You've got a good goalie. You've got a good number 1 center right now. Glad they didn't trade him at the deadline when his value was at his absolute low. We all happy now? We're all good?
No, happy? No. I mean, yeah, he's playing well, but happy. It's like, wait a minute.
Those intrusive thoughts were coming in last night where you're like, maybe he's good again.
Last all weekend.
Yeah, they came in on Friday. It's like, no.
Yeah, I saw the text of, guys, I think I'm falling for keeping Thompson.
I
went,
was.
no.
And
no.
I have. Yep. I have fallen for it, and I'll explain why once we get into the 12 o'clock hour, but like, it's hard to deny. It's just you haven't been able to stay healthy, and where is this for 82 games?
All I'm seeing is a guy. All I'm seeing is a guy that's.
Agree.
All I see is a guy that's playing really well, showing off his true value, and in the offseason, you cash in your chips. That's
Alongside Alex and T-Bone on BK, it is 11:14. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. If you guys want to get involved in the show, 314-399-9646. That is the Air Comfort Service text line to do so. We're going to have a lot of NFL news throughout the morning. I have to assume today is the unofficial start of free agency. And by unofficial, I only mean that technically these deals aren't actually signed today, but deals are coming together. It sounds like Travis Kelce is returning to the Kansas City Chiefs. Also, Alec Pierce has signed. Have you guys seen this yet?
I saw this.
I saw it.
Okay. Alec Pierce signing on a 4-year, $116 million deal.
Oh, my God.
With the Indianapolis Colts.
And who's their quarterback?
We don't know yet.
Oh,
Daniel Jones. What they should do is rescind the tag. I'm not even kidding about this. They should rescind the tag for Daniel Jones and just sign Kyler Murray to a 1-year, $1.75 million contract. There's no reason for Kyler Murray to sign anywhere for more than the veteran minimum. The reason being, he's got offset language in his contract, which means he's getting like 30 some odd million dollars this year from the Cardinals. He would have to make more than that to actually get paid by his new team. He's not going to get more than $30 million from anybody this offseason. So because of that, just sign for the least amount of money and screw over the Cardinals, where they have to pay all of that money and your new team gets the biggest bang for the buck. This is what happened for Russell Wilson a couple of years ago, where the Broncos were on the hook for all of his money. So the same thing's very likely to be true for Kyler. It's why I think he's probably going to end up signing with the Minnesota Vikings, because they have no money to spend. So he's a good option for them in free agency. If I'm the Colts, though, I would just rescind the tag for Daniel Jones, go get Kyler. He's a great fit with Alec Pierce. Clearly, you wanted him back on a nearly $30 million per year contract. That's crazy, dude.
That's an overpay, in my opinion.
Yeah. There's almost no way for him to live up to that price.
No.
And I think the Colts had a magical run this past year that went down once they lost their quarterback, and I don't think you can repeat that.
That contract reminds me, different players, but who was it? Gabe signed with Jacksonville.
Davis.
Gabe Davis, when he signed that big deal with the
more
Jags.
similar
Christian
to the
Kirk.
Christian Kirk deal.
That was the one I thought of.
Kirk's another good one. Yeah.
See, like
Gabe Davis was a relatively inexpensive deal, but
Maybe that's the one I was thinking of, where you
Kirk's
signed
what you
someone
think
that
of.
was a name that was known, put up big numbers, but you looked at it and went, this feels kind of fraudulent.
if I'm the Colts, you're trying to bottle up that magic that you just did. Like, let's be real about it. Jonathan Taylor is a massive reason why that team went on a run. And how many more years do you think Jonathan? Look at how fast it turned for Saquon Barkley this past year.
Yeah.
Like, I think you're chasing something that's not going to be able to get caught.
Other news from the NFL, the 49ers are open to trading Trent Williams after they have come to an impasse with his current contract situation.
Isn't he like 40?
Yeah, but he's still very
I was going to say, yeah, it's smart. Actually, ask the Houston Texans if it's good to trade away your left tackle.
This
no
one,
regrets.
he has a $38 million cap hit.
Jesus.
And
Yeah, but you still pay your left tackle.
They want him to take a pay cut, and he's like, no.
Dude, I'm getting 38 mil.
Yeah. I mean, I've got
good.
$32 million in salary this year. Why would I take a pay cut? It's your choice. You can either cut me or trade me if you want to, but I'm not taking less money to play for you. I'm really good. And he's right. He is a really, really good football player.
40.
We'll get more into that as we go along here today on BK and Ferrario. Coming up next, though, I do want to talk a little bit about the St. Louis Cardinals. Are they about to do this again, Alex? With another young outfielder?
Oh.
We'll talk about it next here on 101 ESPN. Hey, it's BK, and it is time for you to unlock your inner champion. The place to do so is with my friends at Victory Men's Health. They sent me my new package in the mail this past weekend. I've got everything that I need. I've got a specific pack ready to go made for me. It's personalized, and that's the way that they do things over at Victory Men's Health. They're going to help you with whatever it is that is preventing you from being the best version of yourself, whether that is erectile dysfunction, maybe it's weight loss, maybe it's low testosterone symptoms. They can check those levels for you at Victory Men's Health. Book that first appointment today. It's an incredibly easy process. VictoryMen'sHealth.com. When you get over there, book that first appointment by going up to the Book Now page. Put in your name, email, phone number, tell them BK with 101 ESPN sent you, and then tell them what it means for you to unlock your inner champion today. They've got 4 great locations, and they're happy to help you unlock that inner champion today at Victory Men's Health and online today at VictoryMen'sHealth.com. Go over there, read all that they have to offer for you at VictoryMen'sHealth.com. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. We're doing this again.
No, we aren't doing this again.
The St. Louis Cardinals have a young outfielder who looks really good in spring training right now. He's big. He's athletic.
Over there, T-Bone.
He had a very productive season last year, split between single A and double A. And he's a former, I think, top 50 pick for the St. Louis Cardinals. His name's Joshua Baez. No, I'm not talking about Jordan Walker a few years ago. This time I'm talking about Joshua Baez, and this time, boy, is it going to be different, except for maybe the handling. So Joshua Baez had a couple of home runs over the weekend. Alex, overall, I mean, everything that I've seen and everything that I've seen reported, he's been very impressive at camp. Ollie Marmol was talking with somebody at camp. Derek Gould reported this in his story over the weekend. And they asked, hey, who's the one that's caught your eye? Who's the guy that's really opened your eyes this spring? And he said, no question, no hesitation, it's Joshua Baez.
And then all of Cardinals fans like, hell yeah. Bring him up.
That brought up the conversation, as you probably would expect. Hey, they've got an opening in left field. Nobody's really taken that job. Could Joshua Baez emerge as the surprise candidate to start the season in St. Louis in left field? And then the lineup came out today. Mason Wynn leading off. Alec Burleson batting second. J.J. Weatherholt batting third. That sure looks like a lineup that we could see.
Prototypical 3-hole hitter.
Ramon Urias is your cleanup hitter.
Oh, okay. Wait a minute.
Now, Gorman is going over to the other game. It's a split squad game today. Joel Pozo at DH. That makes sense because you've got Ivan Herrera, who's working his way back from a knee injury again. Pedro Paez behind the plate. Victor Scott in center field. All of this, again, still making a lot of sense. Joshua Baez in left field, batting 8th today. Alex, normally I would kick things over to you and say how you feel about the idea of Joshua Baez breaking camp with the big league club.
You're bearing the lead here, buddy. Who was starting in right field?
Chase Davis in right field, who had previously been starting in left, but they opened up that opportunity today for Joshua Baez.
Now, why did they do that?
I would normally kick things over to you, my good friend.
Please. Let's
I'm
go to the voice of the Cardinals
and
fans.
skip your opinion on the matter.
Oh, okay.
I'm even going to skip my opinion on the matter. I'm just going to go straight to T-Bone. T-Bone, do you think this is a real possibility, and would you be in favor of the Cardinals breaking camp with Joshua Baez starting in left field?
I'm still not sure how much of a real possibility it is. It's definitely leaning a little bit more in favor of that since he's in this lineup. But I actually wouldn't be opposed if they decided to do this with Joshua Baez.
Unbelievable.
Did you see that home run over the weekend, Ferrario?
Yeah, who'd he hit it off of?
The reason I say that, honestly, no clue. The reason I say that is because if
Isn't it Senga?
I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, but
sure.
I don't know. The reason I say that I'm open-minded to the possibility if they decide to do this is, one, if they decide, hey, we like the process, we like what he's showing in big league camp, he's holding up well against major league talent pitching, and we think this process will actually translate to the big league level, you've got a spot open for him in left field, so you can start him. And the reason I'm not opposed to it is I don't think just because you look at him and say, well, he hasn't been at AAA, that means he can't be in the big leagues. I think it's okay if he skips AAA. If they truly believe he's ready, and I'm going off of what they will be saying by that action, by pulling him up to left field. Because if they don't think he's ready, there's no excuse for him not to be here, or there is no reason for him to be here, because you can put him in AAA and you've got options for left field. But if they put him in left field, I'm actually not opposed to it because it would say, A, they believe he's ready, so he doesn't need to see AAA pitching, in my opinion, and B, you've got an opportunity for runway for him for the first month. And it's not just, okay, if he plays well in the first month, then what do you do with him because Nootbaar comes back? It puts pressure on a guy like Jordan Walker for Walker to perform. And if Walker's not hitting, well, guess what? You can send Baez into right field and Nootbaar's in left, and Walker becomes kind of your fourth outfielder for now. I am open to the idea of Joshua Baez being here for opening day, getting the start in left field. If they send him down, I would get it. I'm not over here just saying he has to be on the big league roster. But I'm open-minded to the idea that he gets that opportunity to start the season on opening day against the Tampa Bay Rays.
Everything you just said, I felt like I just flashed back to 2021 and you were talking about Jordan Walker.
I wasn't wrong, though. Did you see what he did in his first year?
Yeah, and then what did he do the rest of the time?
Did you see him get sent down a month into the season?
At the time.
He wasn't ready. It's very clear now looking back. It was the wrong decision to bring Jordan Walker to the big league club based upon flashes that we saw in spring training. Spring training lies all the time.
And we always fall for it as Cardinals fans. You see it and you're like, ooh.
Don't listen to that.
I'm speaking for the majority of listeners
Cardinals
right
Nation,
now.
don't you take that from Ferrario.
I truly mean this. You would be better off not paying attention to spring training at all than learning anything from it. You would be better off by just paying attention to the offseason up until they report for spring training and then signing off and saying, I'm not looking at a single report from spring training, and then logging back in and finding out what the roster was on opening day. I I say that kind of tongue-in-cheek, but honestly, not really.
Well, like, let's as a group grow together. T-Bone, I need you to listen up and sit down and listen. Let's
What
grow.
tone that
Let's
was.
grow together.
No, not you, him.
No, mine. No, let's grow together.
I love how you, by the way, assumed that I was
Yeah,
talking
he
to
looked
you.
up immediately like a kid was told no, and he's like, I didn't do it. Like, let's grow here, Cardinals Nation. Like, we've taken over a new regime. Chaim Bloom and his staff are here. Let's not make the same mistakes that they have made time after time after time, where a young kid who looks like he's going to be a key piece of the future looks great in a couple of at-bats at spring training, and we're like, oh, he's ready for the big leagues. Let's pump the brakes a little bit.
Yep.
He doesn't need to be ready for the big leagues.
Correct.
He could be ready for the big leagues in June, in July, in August. Then you know what? You bring him up and you say, attaboy, Josh, go get him. Because next season's your season where you can show us that you're ready to be a major leaguer. Let's not take a 23-year-old who was good in Double-A this season and say, get out there and win it for the Cardinals fans right now, Josh. I think that's a dumb idea. Let's slow play this. T-Bone, you don't throw the steak on the grill when it's 500 degrees and cook it really quick to eat it. No, you want to slow cook that bad boy.
I don't have
No,
time
you
for
want to
that.
get it real good. You want to sear the top and then let it cook to the internal temp you need.
I think you do want to do that, actually.
No, you don't. You need to internally let it cook. You want to let it cook before you go in and dive in.
No, I don't. I actually like it like a medium rare. So
That's disgusting.
Like searing the outside.
That's
and
disgusting.
It's time for Baez to be here.
That's disgusting.
Low and slow is for a little different. But I
Low
do.
and slow is what
I
real
do
men
think that
do.
is the correct way to go about this with Joshua Baez. He was a late bloomer. It took a while for him to catch on. And last year, it finally clicked for him. And in the minor leagues, he had 20 home runs and 55 stolen bases. That is the kind of talent I don't want to mess up, because this guy could be the kind of star-level talent that we're talking about. Like that is the kind of talent that exists within him. Can they extract that at the major league level? I have no idea. I don't know if it's going to translate to the big league level. I'd like to give him every opportunity to marinate in the minor league level before they expose him potentially to the big league pitching that can find the weaknesses within his swing. At least get a cup of coffee at the AAA level. I think sometimes we rush this stuff to the point where it's like, go, 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 go. Oh, no, we forgot. There's another level of processing that needs to take place. I want to see him fail again. I know that sounds weird, but I want to see what it looks like when Joshua Baez has a month where he's really struggling to get it together. And I want to see that happen when he doesn't have the pressures of big league opponents scouting against him every single night. So go down to AAA, have a great first couple of months of the season, and then let's see where you're at. If we get to May and he's tearing the cover off of the baseball against AAA level pitching, and it appears that he's ready for this level, and Jordan Walker is struggling, great. Go ahead and call him up, and let's see what it looks like. If you get to July, if that doesn't happen, if he's either struggling or Jordan Walker is playing well, Nootbaar comes back, cool. Just allow him to continue to play at the AAA level. There's no rush on this. You have no urgency to get him up to this level. Now we can wait until the trade deadline when this team's probably trading Lars Nootbaar, let's be real. And then you've got another opportunity to call him up to the big league level. I just don't see any reason, zero scenarios in which it would make sense for him to break camp with the big league club. It's great. I love the idea that he's succeeding. Like this is all positive. But you don't need to then make a rash decision that you can't take back. This is the kind of move that the Cardinals have made in the past. I will also say I would be shocked if they do it. Hearing yesterday Chaim Bloom on KMOX, he does not sound like the guy that is going to make this kind of a decision. He specifically made reference to Jordan Walker. He does not sound like a guy that's going to do this.
Yeah, I like I said, I don't care if he's here or not, but I'm just more open-minded to the idea of him being here. Because if he's here, to me, it signals not anything about the stats, because I don't think the Cardinals look at the stats for spring training. I think they look more at the process. Not only Marmola has said that publicly, they're looking more at the process. And if they believe that process is ready and they believe that that will lead to success at the big league level, then I see no reason for him to see AAA. I really don't. And I know Walker's referenced as the guy that, well, look, it failed for him in the first month. I think everybody's different. And I think there's a chance Baez could succeed in the first month. Would I bet on that? No. but I think it's possible. And the other thing that I would...
But there's no real need to do it.
I agreed, but I also could see this as an you're in a rebuild. Why not give him a month at the big league level? And there's no pressures.
But
like
why?
the problem for Jordan
Because
Walker,
there is pressure. Like, I just disagree with that.
See, I
there's
don't
pressure
think there's
at the
as much
beginning.
pressure in the big league level this year for a guy. Because for Jordan Walker, it was, hey man, if he's not hitting, Cardinals fans immediately look at him and start
He's
pointing
never
the finger
seen
at
pitching
him.
like you would see at the big league level. Just never seen it. And now suddenly he's doing that with 40,000 people in attendance. That's pressure.
And maybe there's not pressure
not
from the
40,000
Cardinals.
here.
Maybe
Sure, but there is at other stadiums that he's going to be playing.
I don't think it's as much pressure this year as it would be in years past when prospects are coming up.
There is still pressure, though.
And I think there's more pressure than you're giving credit to the player, because the player's getting his first taste of major leagues. He doesn't want to go back down, so he's going to put all the pressure on himself. There might not be pressure from the Cardinals because they're rebuilding or building, whatever they want to call it. There will be pressure on Baez himself, and there will be pressure from fans that see Baez because they want him to be good.
Yeah.
And I just wouldn't, I don't want to chance that right now. I think what he could do getting a taste of Major League Baseball in March or April, he could get the same taste of Major League Baseball in June or July when things have dropped off for the team and there is more or less pressure in terms of Cardinals need to be good early on. And then I also think Baez is more comfortable where he's at because he's seen AAA hitting.
Yeah, absolutely. There's just no reason to do this. None. You have other options.
Well, there's reason to do it if you want to screw up your player.
Yeah, the entire season should be about making sure that these guys get the best chance possible to succeed at the major league level, and that means not having them succeed at the major league level right now or pressuring them to succeed at the major league level right now. Same reason why like Quinn Matthews is going to start the year at the AAA level. You have alternatives here. You don't need to do this time. Like, you can just go with one of the other players that's ready to get their chance at the big league level. If you didn't have Thomas Ajayci or Jose Fermin or, I don't know, the other dozen guys that are currently competing for that spot in left field, sure, I could see, I guess, a scenario in which you need to do this. They don't. This is what the filler players are for, is to prevent you from rushing a prospect through the minor league system. He's not ready for this. He's not. He finally had a taste of success at the minor league level, and now he's had a few good games at the spring training level. Let's slow our roll here.
And see, where I would say that I'm just not ready to say yet is he's not ready for it. I don't know. He may be ready for it. Some guys
if you don't
are
know,
ready.
though, then don't push him.
That's where I'm going by what the Cardinals are saying. If the Cardinals bring him up for the opening day roster, I'm not going to go, they're
They
screwing up another
basically
one.
said yesterday that they're not.
I'm just saying the idea of this flirting with it, right? I agree.
I don't think they actually are. I think they're getting him an opportunity to see what it looks like against these big league pitching, to get feedback at the spring training level. Hey, this is what it looks like when you go up against legit big league starters. You're going to see some guys kind of like this at the AAA level. For the first time in your major league or in your professional career, this is the kind of pitching that you're probably going to see this year. Get a taste of it. And then go down to AAA, experience some success, and we'll probably see at some point this season. I think that's what this is about. I don't think he's starting in left field today because they're looking at potentially bringing him with them to the big league club. I think it's crazy.
I'd be open to it. I'm cool with it.
We got some big news in the NFL. Today is the unofficial start of free agency, and we will give you all of the latest updates coming up next here on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here. The Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Blues took down the Ducks last night 4-0. They are off today. They'll be back in action tomorrow night when they return home, as they will host the New York Islanders and Brayden Schenn. We'll have pregame coverage starting at 5:30 with Alex Ferrario. Puck drop at 6:30 with Chris Garber and Joey Vitale. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin Heating and Air Conditioning dealer.
It's a free agency frenzy in the NFL. Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Ian Rappaport reporting earlier today, Travis Kelce expected to return for a 14th season with the Kansas City Chiefs. Expected to be a one-year deal. We already mentioned that. Alec Pierce also, if you're just tuning in, wide receiver from the Colts, 4 years, $116 million to stay with the Indianapolis Colts. Other news around the NFL, looks like Kenneth Walker, the Super Bowl MVP, wants to win another one.
Oh, jeez.
He's heading to Kansas City on a 3-year deal worth $45 million.
I think his better shot to win another one would have been staying where he was at.
I love it. I don't think you could have asked for a better signing for the Kansas City Chiefs. Their biggest issue last year offensively was we have no ability to get explosive plays in the running game. Kenneth Walker last year had 10 runs of 20 or more yards. The Chiefs running backs combined for 1. Yep, that's the kind of guy you want to sign in free agency. Yeah. So nice move by the Chiefs. By the way, if you're wondering, is that a little bit of an overpay? Here's what wide receivers make in the market. Jerry Jeudy's at $17.5 million. So that's $2.5 million more per year than Kenneth Walker. Cooper Kupp last year signed the exact same deal as what Kenneth Walker just signed, a 3-year, $45 million deal, and Cooper Kupp got cut by the LA Rams. So I love the signing. I think it's the right kind of move, and I think it's about what I expected money-wise. Alex, what do you think?
I think it's the smartest move to go with. We talked about this last week to where it's like, look, rather than spend your 9th overall pick on trying to get Jeremiah Love, who's probably not even going to be there for you, fill other holes on your team with your 2 first-round picks and just spend the money on Kenneth Walker. I mean, the fact that you were able to essentially get it as a 2-year deal, I know it's 3, but really just a 2-year deal, that's a really good deal for a guy that probably still has some gas in the tank that can go out there and be a difference maker for you. And now if I'm the Chiefs, I'm looking at this as, cool, I can find potentially a difference maker at wide receiver in this first round of the draft, and I can go out there and get some type of defenseman, whether it's a pass rusher, whether it's a secondary piece. I could go get a piece to play this season in the defense for me, and now I've kind of recreated my roster with just the free agency move. So I think it's a smart play by the Chiefs.
Kenneth Walker, according to Pro Football Focus, was second, first, and second in forced missed tackles per carry over the last 3 years. The guy breaks tackles. He's a professional tackle breaker at the NFL level. T-Bone?
Get out quick, man.
Yeah,
defensive tackle. T-Bone?
I love the signing because it's twofold. One, we talked about this earlier in the week. If Jeremiah Love's not there at 9, and if you're looking at the market for ETN, which we haven't seen sign yet, but reports were it was going to be a little bit closer to Walker's than we were expecting. Okay, well then just go sign the top guy on the market in Walker. And as the NFL looks like it might be shifting back towards the running game, that's an element you need, explosive runs. I'm curious to see what they're going to do with their wide receiver room the rest of the offseason, but you at least create some outs now potentially for that, whether that be in free agency still or at the draft with their pick.
I really wonder if Tyreek Hill's their answer.
Could be. Other big news in the NFL, my God, Jalen Phillips got a massive contract. If you're unfamiliar, he was a defensive end for the Miami Dolphins, wildly talented, often hurt. Got traded last year to the Eagles, played very well for them in the second half of the season. They wanted to re-sign him, but then the Carolina Panthers came in with a 4-year, $120 million contract.
My goodness.
Woo-hoo! He was expected to get around $20 million a year. He ends up getting $30 million a year. Feels like a significant overpay, but he's a good player, and the Carolina Panthers have to pay to get guys to come play for them. What do you think, Alex?
I mean, it feels like what you said, an overpay. Does that make the Carolina Panthers a much better team than what they were last year?
I mean, it helps.
It helps, but I don't think it's going to be the difference maker. Like, what they're relying on is their offense. Now, they had some really fun pieces this past year that showed up, but I think my main focus is more so because their defense is why they were in that chase down the stretch. As much as I think you lean into the defense, I also think you got to figure out how to make Bryce Young better so that you can accelerate your game. This feels a little like we saw that the Patriots got to the Super Bowl solely off of defense, so let's just go out there and overload on that, and it doesn't work for every team, especially teams playing in the NFC.
A lot of money, man. They better be right.
Yeah, it's an overpay. But like you said, if they're going to get somebody in free agency, they probably have to overpay. So I kind of like it from the Panthers' perspective. I get it. It's a lot of money. How else are you getting guys there? You add someone to your pass rush in a very weak NFC South. I kind of like the move for them.
Other news in the NFL, T-Bone's Rams have signed another cornerback. This one also coming from Kansas City.
Jesus, man.
Jalen
Stop trying to
Watson
copy.
has agreed to a 3-year deal worth $51 million to start on the outside with the LA Rams. 3 years, $51 million, so about $17 a year. T-Bone, what do you think?
I really like it. They're addressing their biggest issue, which was why they ended up going home and not to the Super Bowl this year. It was their secondary. And they said they were going to address it, and they've done that. They did it in a trade with McDuffie and then re-signed him, and now they add this piece. I like what they're doing. I still think they need a little bit of help on the pass rush side of things. I'll see, they've got some outs there as well. Maybe they'll pick up somebody in free agency. They've got a high first-round pick still. But I like what they're doing. I like what they've made, what moves they've made so far this offseason.
We've got our first big quarterback signing as well. The Dolphins are making a signing. Malik Willis, as had been rumored, will be signing with the Miami Dolphins. This comes after they had basically decided to release Tua Tagovailoa earlier today. 3 years. Have you guys seen the money?
I just saw the money.
I haven't seen it.
Alex, what would you guess? 3 years, how much money do you think he's getting for Malik Willis signing with the Miami Dolphins? 3-year deal.
3 year, I'm going to say 27 per year.
Okay, you're not too far off. 3 years, $67 million. So about $22.5 million a year.
I figured you'd have to overpay.
$45 million guaranteed. So this is basically a 2-year, $45 million fully guaranteed contract. Malik Willis, your new starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. That's real starting money.
And if I'm the Dolphins, that's my window to at least try and keep this thing from getting blown up. I got 2 years. Malik Willis.
How?
You're
team
the savior.
Sucks.
Well, I
I
know
think
it's
it's
I
already
hate this
blown up.
signing. I don't understand it at all.
Oh, really? I kind of like it. And the reason I like it, it's not a bad deal for a quarterback. It's one of those like mid-tier signings, which makes sense for the Miami Dolphins especially. Maybe it doesn't work, but it's just a 2-year deal if it doesn't work. And you know what? I don't have any answers right now.
Because
Might
you're
as well
tied
take a
to him
shot.
for next year.
I think
I'm okay with that.
I think you try it, and if it doesn't go well, then you blow it up. But you get 2 years to do it.
Their cap situation is an absolute disaster. They have like 2 good players on their football team right now. This is a team that should be going with one of those veteran quarterbacks on a minimum level deal. I don't get signing Malik Willis to a $25 million per year contract for the next 2 seasons. Like fully guaranteed. He is absolutely going to be on the roster at this time next year. 100%, no doubt about it, and will likely be their starter at this time next year because his cap hit based upon the way that they're going to structure this thing, it's probably going to be about $35 million next year. That's crazy, man. For Malik Willis, who had 2 good games?
Yeah.
That is a baffling decision in my eyes.
I like it rather than going with the veteran where you're not going to find out anything. At least take a shot on a guy that maybe there's still some upside.
I would get that for a different team. For them, I don't understand it at all.
See, when you're in a rebuild, I don't mind.
And I don't think they're going to blow it completely up yet. I think
They're
they're
the good players on the Dolphins. Can you name more than 2 or 3 of them?
No, I can't. Jalen Waddle, though.
Achane.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I have those 2 pieces, and so why not go get a
Their
quarterback?
offensive line is terrible. Their defense is atrocious. They have one guy that he can throw the football to. It makes
all
no
you
sense.
need.
Yeah, but
Makes no
obviously
sense.
their
You're not
ownership-
going to be able to evaluate him very well.
But their ownership has zero appetite to blow it all up. Otherwise, Waddle and Achane would have been traded away by now.
Agreed, and that's why bad teams stay bad.
I'm not disagreeing with you there.
T-Bone is.
Oh, okay.
I think we're on the same page
Yeah.
a little bit here, more so than T-Bone. I think this is a bad move by them. I think they made a huge mistake by making this kind of a signing.
In a rebuild, I think you take shots like this. Because I get what you're saying, right? Like if you put him on, I don't know, Atlanta, Indianapolis,
Those make way more sense to me.
I agree, but I don't mind taking a shot like this if you're the Miami Dolphins. Because, yes, the roster is bad, but he's more of a mobile quarterback, so maybe he can escape some of those pressures that come from that bad offensive line. Maybe they address that this year.
He doesn't deal well with pressure, though.
I like this signing because if you believe there's upside, I don't know that there's much upside in Willis. But if you believe there is, I don't mind taking a shot like this if you're the Miami Dolphins.
If you're doing this, why not just sign Kyler Murray to a 1-year, $1.75 million
Because I think
deal?
you know what he is.
Do you?
Yeah, I don't think Kyler
has shown far more upside than what we have seen from Malik Willis.
Not recently, though.
Yeah.
2 years ago, he was good.
There's a new war zone coming out. That guy can't play.
I think Malik Willis he just showed it this past year.
For 2 games.
You take the shot on that versus 2 years ago.
Didn't throw a pass.
I think you take the shot for a guy that's been good recently versus a guy that was good 2 years ago.
I mean,
and had some pretty good weapons in Arizona that never
really.
Marvin Harrison Jr. is a pretty good piece to have.
It's fine.
And
who's the other guy that he's been throwing to that you've been super impressed by?
I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. is better than anything that Malik Willis has had.
I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. has been a disappointment so far in his NFL career.
Or I'd say the quarterback has been a disappointment in his career.
Maybe, but he didn't improve with the other quarterback that was thrown in there either, whereas some of their other backup players did. I don't know, man. This is a weird one to me. I don't really get it.
I think Miami is going to be bad. I think this is a shot you had to take before you legitimately say we're going into full blow-up mode.
Coming up in about 15 minutes, we'll get back into the St. Louis Blues. What's going on right now with Robert Thomas? Is Alex buying in? And can Jimmy Snuggerud be the winger that he's been missing? We'll get into that coming up in about 15 minutes. But next, 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers here on BK and Ferrario. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line for questions and answers. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and get them in right now on the Air Comfort Service text line. We'll continue to update you as we get any other signings that come across in the NFL. Joseph Osai, former defensive end for the Bengals, has signed a 3-year, $36 million deal with the New York Jets. That is the latest that I have seen out there right now. All right, let's get into this. Cottleville Comb-Over asks Alex, do you think 3 first-round picks would be enough to get Brady Tkachuk?
No. If you're trading Brady Tkachuk, you're getting NHL help now. Senators aren't going to go into a rebuild mode with first-round picks. If you're giving them your first-round pick and it's a potential top 5 pick, that's the starting point. But I think you're talking Kyrou plus Neighbors plus one of your minor league pieces and your first-round pick is probably the starting point. And that's even if Brady wants out.
And that seems more likely next year than this year.
When he's a pending free agent, not with there's 2 years left. Although you never know. I mean, if Ottawa misses the playoffs and he continues to get booed in almost every Canadian market he goes to, maybe you'd wonder if he starts to reconsider. But the other thing and the factor you have to keep in mind if you're a Blues fan, he also has a brother that's playing for a team that's a Stanley Cup contender, and that's going to be above you every time of the week.
Especially given the market. All that comes along with it. From the 314, what are the chances of the Blues actually taking 3 players in the first round of the NHL draft?
2024, I said less than 10%, and they took all 3 players. So this one does feel a little different. I mean, I'd put it at 50-50. I mean, as much as I don't think they want to draft 3 players, it comes down to the other team's appetite of taking one of those or both of those picks. So I do think it's good weapons to go into this draft with. But the only way those work is if the other team wants those 23rd and 27th overall picks.
I always feel like at the deadline, they're sought-after commodities, and then we get to the draft, and nobody trades for first-round picks. So I think it's pretty highly likely that they take 3 players.
I was going to say I'm actually leaning less likely that they take 3 players. I would say 30% chance for me right now. And the reason I say that is I think there's going to be a lot of wheeling and dealing from Steen/Armstrong in the offseason, and you may need to throw in a pick for, like, maybe attach a pick with Cairo and you get Nemec, for example. Maybe they do some moves like that where they're kind of taking player for player, and then maybe they put a pick in there as well as a sweetener. I think there's a decent chance they move at least one of those picks.
Yeah, and I think a couple of them could be moved up in the draft, maybe attached with your pick, and all 3 go to somebody to move up 2 spots. I don't expect them to take 3 players in this year's draft.
From the 636, how far do you think Mizzou and SLU would need to advance in their respective conference tournaments in order to ensure an at-large bid if they don't win the conference tournament? I think they could both lose in the first round they're in.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like both are in, right?
The bubble is so weak this year. Every team that was on the bubble for Joe Lunardi going into the weekend, all 9 of them lost over the weekend. So, yeah, I think both of them are in. If you're a Mizzou fan, though, you're rooting for Kentucky to win that first game, so you play against Kentucky, and it's not a
bad
loss that hurts your resume. If LSU were to beat Kentucky and you lose to LSU by like 20, it's not a great resume builder going into Selection Sunday. But, yeah, I think both of them are in, barring something completely unforeseen in the other tournaments that take place. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. It's 12:02. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Coming up next, have we finally seen a legitimate winger emerge as the potential go-to guy alongside Robert Thomas? We'll talk about it next year on 101 ESPN. Alex is ready to do it. He's ready to buy back in. I can feel it.
Is this your version of Joshua Baez?
I'm actually not. It's just it hurts so much because I want to, but on the other side of me wanting to, I did this last year, and then I saw what October through February was, and I'm like, I'm not doing it again.
So Robert Thomas has been awesome. His line has been dominant over the last couple of games. He has a couple of goals. Holloway has a few assists. Snuggie has a goal and an assist. I mean, it's just been a very impressive couple of games for that trio as they have been put together on the top line. Alex, you've talked a lot, and we've talked about, hey, is it Robert Thomas? Is it the wingers? What's going on? Why aren't they able to get the consistent production? Because that's T-Bone's biggest criticism of Robert Thomas, and I think it's a fair one. He has not been consistent. He needs to be more consistent. I think there are legitimate explanations for that. Others would take them as excuses, though, so we go in our different paths once you get there. Alex, you've always talked about, hey, he needs his Cole Caufield. Have they found one?
I think they might. And I'm not going to sit here and act like all of a sudden Jimmy Snuggerud can become this 40-goal scorer, but it's hard to deny what you're seeing. If he didn't have that injury early on, I truly believe we'd be talking about Jimmy Snuggerud with 20 goals. I mean, he's at 12 right now, and you figure where this team's at towards the rest of it. He might finish around 16 or 17, just a 20-goal scorer. The confidence that he has, and the more I've just looked at it, and we've talked about this before, like Nick Suzuki was a late first-round selection when he was traded from Vegas to the Montreal Canadiens. That was in that Max Pacioretty deal. And Suzuki in his first few seasons, 41 points, 61, 66. When he went from 61 to 66, he finally found that goal scorer. Cole Caufield's first full season was that year. He had 23 goals. The next season for Caufield, 26 goals in 46 games. That season, Suzuki took a little bit more of a step. And then 2 years ago was when Suzuki scored 33 and had 77 points. Caufield had 28. And then the last 2 years, he's had 37, and Caufield and Suzuki have been that 1-2 punch for Montreal. Sometimes when you're that centerman, you can only do so much. But when you get that guy who is a dual threat with you, well, now other goaltenders are going to be like, all right, where's this one going? And you start to present your opportunities. Like, look at Robert Thomas's shot total in these last 4 games. It's surpassing anything he has done this season. And I think a lot of that is because Jimmy Snuggerud's out there with him, and he's shooting a lot. Somebody commented on the YouTube chat saying, if Alex is going to back away from what he said last week, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm not backing away from it because, look, if Utah seriously was going to give you what they were asking for, I think it would have been a smart deal for the Blues to do, because as much as I like what Robert Thomas is doing right now, that's a hell of a haul for you resetting it and putting in the same timeline as where your guys are at. But I am softening on it, because if Robert Thomas has this, he has never had this as a centerman for the Blues. It's been good pieces. It's been Tarasenko. It's been Kyrou. It's been Buchnevich. It's been Jake Neighbors. He's never had a guy who could put up 30-plus goals consistently like Jimmy Snuggerud with the elite ability to release and pass, like Snuggerud has the ability to, and then what Dylan Holloway provides as well when healthy. That's the hard part of me trying to come to terms with this, is how much do I buy into them now, because I still haven't seen it for an 82-game schedule. All of these guys have been dealt with injuries. I just look at what Nick Suzuki has become over these last 3 years, and I don't think he becomes that without Cole Caufield putting 30-plus goals in the net. And if you have a 1-2 punch like those two, and they look comfortable together, that's where you start to see Robert Thomas emerge as that number one superstar caliber player.
I still think Dylan Holloway, to me, is more of that than Jimmy Snuggerud is, honestly.
I don't think Holloway is the guy that could score 40 goals in the season, though.
I think he's more likely to than Jimmy Snuggerud.
See, I think Snuggerud's more likely because of that release. Like what he did last night on that quick shot, and Thomas finding him with a no-look pass, that's the connection that I don't know if Holloway and Thomas can have. Maybe they can, but Snuggerud's got that release, that one-timer, wrist shot, tap into the front of the net. He's the ability to be everywhere.
No doubt. He has that. I just haven't been as blown away by Jimmy Snuggerud this year as I think maybe some others have. I think he's been good. And there's nothing wrong with that. He's 21 years old. It should have been expected, in my opinion, for him to not be immediately a 30-goal scorer. But if I look over to the Cole Caufield comparison that you gave, Alex, you're right. His first year was 23 goals, but he did so in 67 games. His second year was 26 goals, but he did so in 46 games. If you pace that out over an 82-game season, That means as a 21 and a 22-year-old, he was at like a 36-goal pace. Jimmy Snuggerud this season is at like a 15 to 20-goal pace. That's quite different than what Cole Caufield was. Meanwhile, with a guy like Dylan Holloway, I've already seen him produce at that level, man. Last year, he was like a legit 30-goal type of producer. And if he wasn't or if he was healthy this year, I think there was at least a chance he would have gotten back to somewhere pretty close to that. I am much more curious for me on what a Holloway, Thomas, plus either top 3 overall selection or tradable asset piece looks like on the top line next year than Thomas, Snuggerud, and whoever that third piece is.
I think the only way Thomas can become that driver, that number one guy, is if he has the goal scorer. And Dylan Holloway has the ability to it. I think Dylan Holloway is just that all-around two-way player. And what I think Snuggerud is a guy that will shoot the puck 6 or 7 times in a game. And when he gets that confidence, like Cole Caufield in those first couple of seasons, it was still kind of marinating in the NHL. Like, he scored 23 goals in that first season. I think Snuggerud's probably close to that if he doesn't have that wrist injury.
Yeah, but, I mean, he did it in like 60 games, so there's a big difference in that,
I totally understand that. But also, I think Suzuki had kind of been at that point. Like, Snuggerud's probably not at that level. But I do think Snuggerud has the same ability as Caufield in terms of quick release, pinpoint accuracy, but also has the ability to create offense. And that's why it's like, I think if Robert Thomas can find a guy that thinks at the same level as he does, that's where Snuggerud's game gets taken to the next level. Like, Caufield's not doing this without Nick Suzuki.
Agreed.
Nick Suzuki,
yeah.
I don't think, is becoming the player he is without Cole Caufield. That's why I think Thomas and Snuggerud could be a 1-2 punch that you look at and be like, man, Snuggerud is a 40-goal scorer, but only if he's got Robert Thomas with him.
All of this is why I argued against trading Robert Thomas, and it's why I will continue to do so once we get to the summer. That doesn't mean he has to be the future star of your team. It doesn't mean that he has to be the number 1 center in 2027 or 2028. It just means that I want more information. I want to find out, what does it look like with Jimmy Snuggerud? What does it look like with Dylan Holloway? What does it look like if you're able to shake the winger tree open this summer and somebody falls out that you weren't anticipating? Maybe a guy like a Jason Robertson does become available. I'd be very surprised by it, but maybe a Brady Tkachuk does become available out of an abundance of the Blues continuing to call, and suddenly they say, you know what, screw it, we'll take Jordan Kyrou, like Jiricek, and 2 first-round picks or whatever it might be. Again, I'm not anticipating that, but I'd like to find out if that's possible first before I make a decision that I can't take back. Because once I do trade Robert Thomas, now you have decided what your path is, and now you have to trade everything else, and now you're building around the 24 or younger players. Let's see what this looks like. Even if I'm more skeptical on the Snuggerud side of things, I'm open to the possibility that he is better than I'm giving him credit for, and him getting an extended runway with Robert Thomas could allow for that. Him getting an extended runway with Robert Thomas and Dylan Holloway, which I think is every bit as important. Those 3 together on that line, because there's spacing with Snuggerud. There's a guy that drives to the net and plays really well in transition with a Dylan Holloway. And then Thomas's best attributes are now accentuated, not exposed on that line. So I want to see that more the rest of this season and beyond.
And Thomas can only get there if he shoots more. And you can't do it for 20 games. You got to do it for 82 games, because why Suzuki is who he is because he put up 30 goals in a season. And I don't know what's changed for Thomas. Maybe it's just the break, and that's just what he does in the second half, but he is shooting a lot more. It's why I've said this all along. I look at it as this offseason, the deadline was to be determined, because I think it carries over into the offseason. And you've got 2 paths, and I am fascinated to see which one they go, because path A, you lean into Robert Thomas and you say, look, we need to go out there and find that last piece, whether it's a left winger for Robert Thomas, right winger for Robert Thomas, a goal scorer, a playmaker, whatever. But you go that direction. You find the piece that you believe is the missing link, and you use the assets that you have. Because to me, on this roster right now, there's only 2 outs. It's Snuggerud and Holloway. You've tried Kyrou, it hasn't worked. You've tried Buchnevich, you've tried Neighbors. I don't think Carbonneau gets there. I don't think Stenberg gets there. And who knows with this draft pick. Your 2 outs are Snuggerud and Holloway, unless you go out there and find another piece. Option B, the other path at the fork in the road, is you don't lean into it and you say, look, this was great. The price just went even higher. Somebody is going to give us the pieces that reset our timeline and we go back to it. And I don't know which direction they're going to go, but if Robert Thomas plays this way the rest of the season and Snuggerud and Holloway get chemistry, I could see them leaning into option A over option B.
T-Bone's buying in.
No, I'm going option B. I'm cashing my chips in. And
T-Bone has been trying to calm me down over these last couple of days.
Over there, man. This is your typical Robert Thomas year. You watch him in the first half, and this year a little different. In years past, he's been good. And then you get in the second half, you go, wow, that guy definitely franchise-altering. And then we start a new season. It's like, oh, we need more out of Robert Thomas. And then the coach gets fired, or there's trade deadline speculation. Then it's, hey, look at that. Robert Thomas showed up for the second half of the season.
But I feel like it's different because Snuggerud is continuing his development. Like last year when he did it, we didn't see Snuggerud until the last 7 games of the season. Now you're getting a full season of Snuggerud, and it's like, okay, maybe he's starting to figure it out at the NHL level.
I guess a lot of this might be on the Snuggerud side of things, on how much you've really taken from what you've seen.
Yeah, because is he the guy?
What do you need him to be? Does he need to be a 40-goal scorer? He needs to be a 40-goal scorer. And this is where, to your point on Thomas, if he's not a 30-goal scorer, he needs more help from his wingers if he's going to be that 100-point guy.
But maybe that's Holloway with him.
And I just, when I look at Holloway and Snuggerud, and I like Snuggerud's game, but I'm kind of leaning more on what BK was saying. He's been good this year. I don't know if he's a 40-goal scorer. I wouldn't bet today that Holloway's a 40-goal scorer.
I agree.
So you don't have those guys internally.
Could each of them be 30? Because I think yes. I think both of them have real legitimate chances to be 30-goal scorers. Even if I'm a little lower on Snuggie, I think 30 goals seems realistic.
Yeah, I think both have the ability to do what Kyrou did in a season, put up 35 to 37.
Yeah, maybe. I would lean a little bit more towards that side where they potentially have that.
And that's 60 goals on your top line.
With Robert Thomas giving you 25.
25. Yeah, that's 85 total goals out of the 3. I think that's more than
And if those two are putting up 30, that's a lot of assists for Thomas.
Yeah, I'm still not sold on Thomas being the guy, though. I would be ready to move on from him if I get the asking. I'm not selling him for pennies on the dollar. But if I can get the 3 top half first-round picks that Army was clearly targeting at the deadline, I'm cashing the chips in. I'm not holding a hard line if he should not be traded.
T-Bone's ready for a 5-year rebuild for the Blues. Alex, out of curiosity, I'm getting a lot of pushback on the YouTube chat, which is totally fair. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. Say, guys, Brady is not that good. I had mentioned, I just threw this offhand. I have no idea if this is what the actual cost would be. But just out of curiosity, if Ottawa called, they're not going to, and said, hey, we'll trade you Brady Tkachuk. We want Jordan Kyrou, a first-round pick, and Juracek.
Ooh.
You doing it?
Juracek's tough, man.
I say take it or leave it. We've got another.
Can I negotiate the last piece?
We're take it or leave it. We've got another team on the line.
It's not my first-round pick, right?
I'd say probably is your first-round pick.
Probably.
I'd say no.
Really?
Yep. I'd say no. I don't think you...
What if it's next year's first-round pick?
Then yes.
For the Blues?
Then yes. Deal. Juracek is very tough for me because I think you need a top 4 defenseman, and Juracek has that capability. The reason I would go next year's first over this year's first is if this year's first is 4th or 5th, now I get a right-handed defenseman. That could be the Juracek for me. But, yeah, I think you can say you're comparing Brady to Matthew, and to me, those are 2 very different pieces. I know they have the last name that's the same. They play very different. Matthew is more of the skill.
Oh, yeah.
Brady is the finesse. Brady is what Big Walt was in St. Louis, to where he is a power forward that stands in front of the net, plays well defensively, can just piss off anybody on the opposite side. That's what he is. And Brady Tkachuk, I think, resembles more Blues than what Matthew does. Now, Matthew does as well because of that skill on 100-plus points.
Just to be clear, I would rather have Matthew than Brady.
I 100% agree with you. But I'm not going to sit here and say, I'm not taking Brady because he can't put up 100 points. No, I'm taking Brady because he plays the way that I think the Blues team plays. They want those guys on their roster. So if you're telling me Kyrou next year's first and Juracek, I would really try and negotiate off of Juracek. Anybody else in my system I'm listening on. But if it's that and that's the only deal you're taking, it's hard for me to pass up.
And if you mentioned he goes to the front of the net, well, I mean, I've seen a center like McDavid and Draisaitl, what they could do with Hyman, who would go to the front of the net. I don't think Hyman's actually a 40-goal scorer, but when you've got a playmaker like McDavid in them, and if you believe Robert Thomas not to be a McDavid, but to be a 100-point guy, he could then seriously uplift Brady's numbers for you. So, if you're going to build around Thomas, and if that is the only trade presented to me from Ottawa, I would pull the trigger if you truly want to build around Thomas. I would make that move happen.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line. We will continue to keep you updated as we see any news coming along in the NFL. But next, in or out here on 101 ESPN. Boy, this free agency period, teams are getting horned up over the idea of signing some veterans.
Everyone's a Super Bowl contender.
According to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat writer for The Athletic, multiple NFL teams have offered Mike Evans something north of $27 million per year.
Oh, God. I mean, I guess you go out and do that.
That's a lot of money. Kenneth Gainwell, 2-year, $14 million deal with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Good running back. Really like him. That's a lot of money, but I like the player. And they needed a running back because Rachaad White is hitting free agency. They decided to non-tender Sean Tucker, their other backup running back from last year, which surprised me a little bit. But Kenneth Gainwell, who had a really good season last year for the Steelers, heading to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Other news in the NFL, Demario Davis, linebacker from the Saints, is signing with the New York Jets. They have been active today. They've signed a few different defensive players, and it sounds as though they are one of the teams that could be in on Brian Thomas Jr. as well if the Jaguars decide to trade him.
It's crazy how all these guys are just signing so quickly, you know?
Yep.
This is just open. These agents are probably like
the
7
legal
phones going at
tampering
once.
period is now good to go.
Oh, good.
And in West Palm Beach, Richard Fitz just touched 99 miles an hour,
That's why I
struck
didn't even
out
know.
2 in his first inning of work.
I read that, and I had no idea who BK was talking about on the first deal that he was referencing.
We listen here on BK Ferrario.
Titans have agreed to terms with Mitchell Trubisky on a 2-year deal to back up their starting quarterback as well.
God, it's good to be a backup quarterback.
314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line for in or out. All right, boys, in or out. We haven't talked about this yet. After our show on Friday, the Baltimore Ravens made a huge trade, giving up multiple first-round picks for Max Crosby. In or out, the Baltimore Ravens will make it to the Super Bowl next year.
Out. Who's your quarterback, BK?
His name is Lamar Jackson, multi-time MVP.
Doesn't perform well in the playoffs. You can go out there and get whoever you want on defense, but when the ball is in Lamar's hands, it's not going to be successful, so out.
I would say out as well. I still think they've got a bunch of other issues that they've got to attend to. This is nice. This is a good pickup, and it helps if you can get to the playoffs, but I still don't think they're a Super Bowl caliber team.
I'm out, but if you look at their top 4 players now, they're starting to build kind of the way that the Chiefs did previously, where it's the old fantasy football stars and scrubs approach, where you're paying the top of your roster a ton of money. Their top 4 players might be as good as any top 4 players from any other team in the NFL right now. When you look at Lamar, Max Crosby, Hamilton, and either Derrick Henry or Roquan, I guess if you just want to make it the top 5 on their roster is as good as anybody in the league right now. But I'm with Alex. I just don't trust Lamar to get them over the top. Alex, what do you got for us?
Guys, I was telling BK this during the commercial break. In or out, the Blues will get a second top 15 pick. That's from the Detroit Red Wings in this year's draft. I don't know if you saw this. So Jay Frisch was the one that put it out there, which is where it came to mind for me. But Detroit has played 500. Dylan Larkin got injured the other day. They're calling it day-to-day. His knee basically twisted the opposite direction that his leg was going.
Doesn't feel day-to-day.
Doesn't feel day-to-day at all. They have 79 points, but both Montreal and Boston are 1 and 3 points behind them. Columbus is 6 points behind them. They realistically could fall into the outside of the playoff picture, which you're talking about potentially like a 14th or 15th overall pick.
Yeah, they're about 6 points up right now with a couple more games played on Columbus, who is currently in that spot that you're talking about with 16. I think it's realistic for this to happen.
Got another lottery. Get another. You could get the 1st and 2nd overall pick.
0% chance of the number 1 overall pick from that spot. You could end up moving up a little bit, but you'd have to get into the top 11 in order to have odds for them to get the number 1 overall selection. But I'll say in. Why not?
Yeah, I'll say in as well. I could see where the Red Wings with Larkin being out end up falling off a little bit of a cliff here, end up in the top 15, get 2 picks. Sure, why not?
That would be
sounds
huge.
fun.
At that point, I will say that they'll draft all 3 players if they're getting 2 15 picks. I'm in, by the way. I think this would be a hell of a thing that could happen for the Blues, and Detroit's got the 5th hardest schedule the rest of the way.
Guys, in or out, the Seattle Seahawks will miss the playoffs this upcoming season.
I'll say in. They're a really good football team, and they've got a lot to like, but I say this on the show a lot. When you build around defense, it's really hard to maintain. They're losing multiple players from their secondary. They could potentially lose a pass rusher as well. Kenneth Walker was a big part of what they're doing offensively. I don't know who's running the ball for them, truly. Because Charbonnet is expected to miss a decent portion of the season potentially. Kenneth Walker just walked out the door. Maybe they get like Tyler Algier, and I think he'd be really good for them, that kind of a player. But they basically have one wide receiver. They don't have the same explosive running game as they did a year ago. That's not the same threat that it was a year ago. I don't know that I can trust that Sam Darnold's going to be as good as he was last year. Yeah, I'll say in. I think they miss it.
Out. They're going to be, in my opinion, the second best team in the NFC next season, behind the Rams. I know it's hard to build this way, and you lose Kenneth Walker. I still think they have Jackson Smith-Njigba, who is a difference maker. Their defense is only a year older. It's not like they're 3 years older. I think they're going to still be great. I think if you would ask me that question 2 years from now, I'd say in. But next season, I think they're going to be in the playoffs.
I say out as well, but I think it's close. I think they're probably right now like the 6 or 7. And our team that's like on the bubble for most of the reason. Yeah, 6-7. And the reason I say that, one thing that I hate for a team, and I agree with BK's point on building around defense, it's dangerous. I also hate when your identity for your offense is your running game, because we see how quickly that can go. Look at Tennessee Titans when it was Derrick Henry carried them to the playoffs for a year, and then he just wasn't the same guy, and they weren't the same team. You could say the same thing for the Philadelphia Eagles. It happened 2 years ago where Saquon was awesome. They were a Super Bowl champion, and then he wasn't the same guy because the O-line took a step back, and they were a shell of themselves. As much as everybody wants to think that it was Darnold and JSN that were the identity for the Seahawks, no, it was Walker that was, because he would run the football and set up the play-action game where Darnold and JSN really pick teams apart.
All right, 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line. We'll get to a few of these from the text line, and then coming up on the other side, we'll talk a little bit of the local hoops from over the weekend. From Harrison's brother, Master. You knew we were going to get one from him on the Blues. After Kyrou was benched again on Friday, Alex, he has 19 games remaining in his Blues career. At that point, he doesn't even really matter anymore. Well, in or out, Kyrou will be traded this offseason is basically the question.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm in on that. I'm out on the way that Harrison's brother Master framed it, even though I know he despises Jordan Kyrou. I'm in on the fact I think he's gone after this season. I think they were trying to get something done. It didn't come to fruition. I have to imagine both sides are probably thinking it's time just for a split. I mean, look, I don't know why he was benched in that game on Friday against the Sharks. Nothing popped out to me that was like, oh my God, I can't believe Kyrou made that play. But they opted to go with the players that they did. They won the hockey game, and credit to Kyrou, he rebounded with 9 shots on goal and a goal the next game. But yeah, I think it's going to be a healthy split on both sides in the offseason.
I agree. I'm in on this. I don't think Kyrou's going to be back next year. I mean, JR kind of reported there's been some frustration with his camp on his minutes this year because it is way down. He's benched again. I'm in. I don't think he'll stick around. I think they'll trade him.
Sweep it. 314-399-9646 is the Air Comfort Service text line from the 314. In or out at the end of the year, we're disappointed by Dvorsky's first season.
Out. I'm already not disappointed with this season, even if he doesn't put up offense. The offense will come. To me, I think the more important factor for a centerman early on in his career is how do you play on the defensive side of the puck. And I think he's been very good. It's not like he's a Selke winner, and it's not like he's a liability when he's on the ice. He's good. And the offense will continue to improve.
I think he's been fine.
And that's why I'm out.
That's it.
Because I came into this year, I mean, I remember what they said last year, right? Wasn't ready, wasn't responsible defensively. They basically said the same thing when he started the year out at the AHL, and he came up, and I remember us thinking, is he really ready for this? And he's been fine defensively. And that's what you can ask for, and then he was fine in the Olympics as well. So, yeah, I'm out.
I do think maybe the upside on Dalibor Dvorsky was a bit overstated. I think he looks the part of a middle six center to me much more so than a top-line center. But that's okay.
Yeah, I never thought he was a top line. I always thought upside was that number 2 center, and I think he could still be that.
Maybe. But yeah, I think he's been fine this year. The points maybe aren't quite what you would have hoped for, but yeah, he's probably going to get like 15 goals as a rookie at the age of 20. And that ain't so bad.
If you start to utilize him a little bit more on the power play, hopefully become a bit of a power play merchant as well.
All right, 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. Any updates that you guys have seen? I was looking at the text line the whole segment. I saw the Bears
signed.
Bears added Kobe Bryant, safety from the Seattle Seahawks.
Commanders got Amik Robertson, if that means anything to anybody.
Okay, he's a good slot corner.
Breece Hall seems surprised by how much money the Jets are handing out. He just tweeted, damn, we sure got a lot of money in Florham Park. All these contracts dudes signing.
Yeah, it ain't coming to you, Breece.
3 laughing emojis.
It ain't coming to you, Breece. Alex
That's amazing.
Anzalone from the
Lions.
He signed with the Bucks, I think, if I read that one correctly.
Yeah.
That makes sense. He's a guy that
2 years, 17 mil.
good blitzer.
Yeah.
They do a lot with Todd Bowles' system. Makes sense. So that's the latest that we've got. Fullback has signed. Reggie Gilliam.
Fullbacks and
Previously
punter
with
are off the board.
Buffalo Bills. Patriots have agreed to a 3-year deal worth up to $12 million with the Pro Bowl level fullback. He's actually a really good player. Interesting to see how they utilize him in New England. Coming up in 15 minutes, the junk drawer. But next, what did we learn over the weekend from SLU and Mizzou in their 2 losses? I think one was a little more significant than the other. I'll tell you which one it is next year on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here with the Sports Center update brought to you by Universal Windows Direct. Blues took down the Ducks last night. They will be back in action tomorrow night when they host Brayden Schenn and the New York Islanders. We'll have pregame coverage starting at 5:30 with Alex Ferrario. Puck drop at 6:30 with Chris Carver and Joey Vitale. And NFL free agency notes, Alec Pierce re-signed with the Indianapolis Colts, 4 years, $116 million. Kenneth Walker signed a contract with the Kansas City Chiefs. Jalen Phillips signs a 4-year, $120 million deal with the Carolina Panthers. Malik Willis heads to the Miami Dolphins, and the Indianapolis Colts traded Michael Pittman to the Steelers. The Sports Center update was brought to you by Universal Windows Direct.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101 ESPN. It was a big weekend in local college hoops here in St. Louis. Let's start out with SLU, because I thought they were maybe the biggest storyline from the weekend, Alex, and it was disappointing that they were this big of a storyline. They go on the road, they take on George Mason, a pretty solid team from the A-10, and they get absolutely demolished. They did not get off to a great start again, and then in the second half just got boat raced. They were outscored 43-23 in the second half against George Mason, in part because Robbie basically couldn't play. Apparently, he has a plantar fascia injury that he's dealing with right now. They weren't even sure he was going to be able to go for that game. We've heard of that injury previously. Man, it is not a fun one to play through. And it's not as though he has a whole lot of time to rest that thing up prior to the NCAA tournament. They have really hit a rough go of it over the last couple of weeks. They have lost 3 of their last 6 games. The defense has been disappointing. The offense has gone in spurts. There are moments where you watch them and you're like, yep, that's it. That's the offense that we saw all year. And then there are other moments where you watch it, you're like, man, it feels like they can't buy a bucket right now. And I'm not totally sure why, because they're getting some pretty good looks. The problem with the way that they finished this season is that there was an opening for them to really bump up in their seeding, which would have helped them avoid a 1 or a 2 seed in the second round. Now, where you're probably going to see them is on that 10 line, which means that you end up getting a 2 seed in the second round. If they were to win the A-10 tournament, and I don't know how realistic that is with the way that they're playing in Robbie's injury, maybe you get up to the 9, which means that your benefit there is you get a 1 seed in the second round, and that's if you're able to win in the first round. So for as great as this season has been for SLU, Alex, it has really hit a significant bump in the road, and I think it means the ultimate ceiling for this season is not only capped, but it feels as though we've already seen it. It feels like they peaked at the wrong time, unfortunately.
Yeah, when I play cards with my family once a month, we have a saying that you win early, you lose late. Meaning, like, when you're playing cards, you're hot right away and you're starting to bring in everything, but all that money's going to start going back by the end of the night.
That's why Kenny Rogers said you got to know when to hold them.
Amen to that. That feels a lot like what this season is going to be for SLU. You win early, you were the juggernaut in the A-10, but you hit a bump, and that bump turned into a massive bump, and now you're not sure how you get out of it. I mean, it's hard to get the feel of losing away when you drop 2 of the last 4, and I know it's not a whole lot, but the biggest loss, in my opinion, for SLU is the injury to Avila.
No doubt.
Like, you can handle the cold starts, the lack of defense. You can adjust, because when you get to the tournament, that's where adrenaline takes over and the best comes out of all of your players. But if you don't have one of your best players at 100%, who literally is the identity for the team in terms of the physicality, the defense, the ability to create, that takes everything away. Maybe they figure this out. Maybe some rest is going to be good for him, but I don't like the vibes for SLU for how the season ended, and now with this Avila news, I mean, it does really feel like that they're getting into the tournament without question, but when they get in, this feels like hey, it was good to get here, but we're not getting past the first round.
And to put some perspective on this, a couple of weeks ago, SLU was in the top 25, not only in the AP rankings, but also some of the predictive metrics, such as KenPom. They're now down to number 40 in the KenPom metrics. For context, Missouri is 50, and they've kind of been hovering around that 40 to 50 range Mizzou has all season long, which means that to get that low from where SLU was previously, you've got to play some really bad basketball. And that's really what they've been over the last basically 3 weeks now. Teams that are in a similar spot to them, again, just for added context, include Clemson, Auburn, SMU, TCU, VCU. Guys, a lot of these teams are bubble teams that we're talking about here.
Especially.
And for SLU, they don't have this like overwhelming resume. I think they're going to get into the tournament even if they lost their first game just because of what they had previously racked up. But it's not going to be as comfortable as I expected it to be for them once they get to Selection Sunday. And worse, I don't think that they should be expected to do a whole lot once they get there. And I wonder what that means for Josh Schertz. I wonder how he looks at this and says, hey, this was a year where I went 6 for 6 in the portal. I really liked the roster that we had. We're playing amazing basketball. But even when I had all of this going my way, I was still only able to barely sneak into the NCAA tournament. And then once they get there, the expectations aren't really to do a whole lot. So I'm curious to see what that means for his decision-making process in the offseason. On the Missouri side of things, I've seen a lot of fans really complain about that game over the weekend. I know you guys didn't get to see much of it. Mark Mitchell had maybe the best game of his Mizzou career. He was amazing. He was the best player on the court. There was nobody that was close. He was absolutely dominant from start to finish. I thought there were a few moments where Trent Pierce showed up in a big way. Sean Phillips had one of his best games in a Mizzou uniform as well. It was a rough one from T.O. Barrett. He just didn't play well, and down the stretch made a true boneheaded play where he had the turnover. You were right there against a team that's probably going to be a top 5 seed in the NCAA tournament. You lost in overtime. You looked like an NCAA tournament team that could potentially win a game or two.
Yeah.
That's all I'm asking for from this team. I think they're going to get in. I'm not really worried about that. I think they're probably a 10 seed at this point. Maybe you could bump that up to a 9, depending on what happens in the tournament, the SEC tournament. Mizzou's fine. It was disappointing that they lost. It was a frustrating loss, but they played well enough that I feel good about them again going into the tournament.
And I hate to break it to Mizzou fans that are up in arms of that, but that's what the entire season has been for Mizzou, to where it's like, hey, some games look great, some games don't. A boneheaded play results in a loss, or you go on a hot streak and you win. I mean, look, you need T.O. Barrett to be awesome when you get into elimination games, and Mark Mitchell. Like, that's where Mizzou can go on their run. Nothing changes about this Mizzou team in the last, 10 games that they've played. I think they're a team that could win round 1, and I think they're going to get booted in the second round. I also think they could lose in the first round. That's just what a Mizzou team is, which makes sense because all along it felt like you were a bubble bracket team.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me if they were out in the first round. It wouldn't shock me if they won in the first round. And I think if it wasn't for the top of the field being so deep, they could maybe surprise a 2 seed. But because the field is so deep, like right now, if you look at Joe Lunardi's latest, he's got them playing St. Mary's in the first round. I mean, I would probably take St. Mary's, but you could convince me that they win that game. You couldn't convince me they're beating Houston, though. But if this was not your typical year where most 2 seeds, some of them can be gettable at times in recent years, they would have a chance because, as BK's mentioned, they do play up to their competition sometimes. And you saw that this weekend against Arkansas. You really saw it twice against Arkansas this year. But, yeah, it doesn't change much for me for what they're going to be this year.
On the Illinois side of things, T-Bone, they get a win over the weekend, as we all expected, against Maryland. However, their best player just isn't playing all that well right now.
Yeah.
Wagler has really been going through a tough spell. Are you worried about Illinois? How are you internalizing this? You got the win, which is all that you needed, but it would have been nice to see Wagler kind of get back on track.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about them, and it's twofold. One, the defense still pretty shaky for me. That's going to be their biggest issue going into March. And then the other thing is I think the book is out on Wagler. And what I mean by that is he's kind of tiny, 6'6", 180. He's not very well built yet, and it's because he's young. He's a freshman, but I think he's starting to hit the freshman wall. And you see this a lot with younger guys that are not like the elite level NBA talent in the collegiate game. At some point, they hit that freshman wall. You saw this last year with the freshman that Illinois had. And I think the problem for him is because he is so tiny. I mean, look at the last couple of games, how physical teams have been on him. When he doesn't have the basketball, they're face guarding him, and they're making a lot of contact with him before he gets the basketball. And then on the defensive side of the floor, they are blowing him up on screens. They are targeting him on the defensive side of the ball because they want to wear him down by putting a big body into him on screens. And 2, he's just not a good on-ball defender to try and get around those screens because he is so small. So I think you're starting to see all of that kind of piling up and starting to wear on him to where I don't know that he's going to be as effective as he was early on in the season as this team's going into March, and that really limits their ceiling.
Some news in the NFL. The top offensive lineman has officially gone off the board. Ravens free agent center Tyler Linderbaum, very good in pass protection, not so great as a run blocker. He is going to head to the Las Vegas Raiders, a really nice signing in my opinion by them. They're giving him a 3-year deal worth $81 million, including $60 million fully guaranteed. Highest paid interior offensive lineman in the NFL right now.
So Raiders trade Max Crosby. Raiders go out there and get the Ravens offensive lineman.
Yep.
And that's probably about the money that Max Crosby was making?
Roughly, but they get 2 first-round picks in that deal as well. Don't forget about that.
Raiders looking up pretty good. You get a guy from Mendoza.
The Raiders have done a good job this offseason.
Yeah.
They maximized the Max Crosby deal. They get a center to pair with your rookie quarterback. I always think that's a good way to go about it because that takes some of the pass protection calls off of the plate of your quarterback because the center is typically the one that's making the calls at the line unless your quarterback can and is willing to do that. Just take that off of his plate. Give him one of the best centers in the NFL. Linderbaum is that right now. I really like what the Raiders are doing.
Smart.
I have not said that very often in recent years, but I think they're going about this the right way, in my opinion.
At least you have the makings of your offense starting to take form. You've got the protection for your rookie quarterback. You've got the high-end talent of the rookie quarterback. And you got 2 playmakers with Genty and Bowers. Like, defensively, they're going to be bad. Figure that stuff out as you move forward. But offensively, man, this is the step in the direction at least you want if you're the Raiders.
But as we've seen in the past, defense is something that you can kind of retool quicker on the fly compared to the offense,
especially if you've got money.
First-round picks.
And money, too. Like, Mendoza's going to be cheap.
Yep, it's going to be – they're going to be an interesting team. I don't think they're going to be –
Super Bowl this year.
I think they could be this year what the Bears were, not this past season, but the year before, where it was like, okay, you can see some signs. It's kind of there. And you saw the moments for a guy like Caleb Williams. News just came along. It looks like Tyler Algier is going to be signing with the Arizona Cardinals, which does not make a lot of sense.
Well, they got to spend some money, I guess.
That one I don't get. That's one of the first free agent deals that I just
all right. So
really
as we
don't
see,
understand.
the Cardinals still trending in the wrong direction in an incompetent organization. The Raiders are becoming more of a competent organization.
The Cardinals just reconfigured the James Conner deal. They also just took a running back, like, was it last year or 2 years ago, in the second round? And now you're signing Tyler Algier.
Maybe they're turning Algier into a wide receiver.
They're going back into the wishbone offense. 3 running backs on the field.
Hell yeah.
We're going to run the Navy option with the Arizona Cardinals.
Well, you'll need that with your quarterbacks.
That's the latest in the NFL today, the unofficial kickoff of free agency. Junk Drawer coming up next here on 101 ESPN.
Alex Ferrario with you to talk about my friends out at Ted Drew's. It is officially open this weekend. You had great weather once all that rain subsided, and you're going to have it this week. So maybe tonight's a perfect night for you when it's sunny, 75. Get on out there and enjoy that famous frozen custard. It's open for its 97th season to where you can go out there and enjoy Ted Drew's famous frozen custard. It's the perfect spot to be to build those family traditions, and it's been built off of quality service and a family tradition that is providing great service for you. So you can go out there, you can enjoy that famous frozen custard, mix and match flavors like you would want. I know my daughter loves to go out there and just see whatever she can come up with. Oreo is the main piece of it, but maybe you want the flavors already mixed for you. They've got tons of them, whether it's the Blue Note, the S'more, Caramel Apple Sundae, the All Shook Up, all of those options available for you at Ted Drew's. Plus, if you're looking for a summer job, Ted Drew's is hiring. You could find out how over at teddrews.com. Also, while you're there, check out the gift shop and the historical museum right across the parking lot. Ted Drew's open for its 97th season. Real custard, real tradition. Ted Drew's, it's St. Louis.
Did you guys see this new deal that the Cardinals put out today? The
Which
Kids
one?
Club?
The St. Louis. I thought you meant Arizona. And I'm like, what,
Oh,
you mean
sorry.
the Tyler Algier contract? No, I didn't see it.
Alex, I think your kids might be interested in this.
Okay.
So I signed Luca up earlier today. T-Bone, I don't think you're eligible, but you might be able to pass.
You can fake it, T-Bone.
Yeah.
Just talk,
So
yeah,
for
use that voice.
2026, they have revamped their Kids Club. They've got a free membership and a membership that's the All-Star Kids Club for $40.
For the whole season?
For the full season.
Okay.
You get access to exclusive ballpark giveaways, ticket discounts, 10% off at the team store. You get opportunities to get 2 tickets to a Monday to Thursday game. That's all with the free one. Then if you spend the extra $40 for the All-Star level Kids Club, you also get 2 tickets to every kids party Sunday baseball game. There are 4 of them this summer. So in total, you get 8 tickets to those Sunday day games with your kiddos. You get exclusive Cardinals merchandise kit. There's like this prize pack that they'll send to your house, and you get to go run the bases. You get
What?
the front of line run the bases access.
Huh.
Listen,
I'm probably going to spend $40 on that. Is it just 2 tickets that you get? Like you spend $40. So if I wanted one for all of my girls, I'd have to sign up 3 times.
I mean,
Or take one girl each time.
so you could just sign up 2 of your girls, because then you would be able to get your 4 tickets, and your youngest wouldn't need a ticket.
Well, that's true. That's fair. Okay.
So yeah, sign up 2 of them, pay the $80. You get
Emma doesn't like sports anyway.
basically 5 baseball games this year that you get to go to with your family for $80 for you. Or if you're like with us with Luca, I signed Luca up. Me and his mom get to go to the games together. With
Oh yeah, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, because Luca's free.
So yeah, we get to go to 4 different baseball games or 5 different baseball games, whatever it is this year.
I should do the Joe Vitale
$40.
method on this one and just carry my sleeping children and say they're 2.
There you go.
Even though my kid looks like a gazelle for how long she is.
The Cardinals deserve a lot of criticism for some of the things that they have done in recent seasons. I think that is all fine and good and fair and justified. They've done a pretty darn good job so far this offseason of making games more affordable for families to go to. And I think that's going to be a really big part of what they need to accomplish heading into the upcoming season.
Yeah, I'm with you.
You just made a face.
Because
Did
the
you
Blues,
see something?
Yeah, the Blues have some news. No trades because the trade deadline's passed, but they've called up Otto Stenberg and Theo Lindstein of the Springfield Thunderbirds.
I bet Lindstein slots into that third pair. Probably.
kind of what
I think we should talk about that coming up next here on 101 ESPN. couple pieces of news from the NFL to pass along before we end up getting some of the news from the Blues, which we referenced in the last segment. Stenberg and Lindstein, 2 of the first-round picks that the Blues had last time. They had 3 picks in the first round. They have been called up. In the NFL, the Saints have signed Travis Etienne to a 4-year deal worth $52 million. What are you doing, New Orleans? What's
Just looking for good vibes, I guess, you know?
Kamara hasn't been the same player.
Got to make Tyler Shuck's life easy. Just hand the ball off the rest of the season.
I do wonder if maybe we're going to see like a changing of the guard for them at the running back position. They're an interesting team.
They can't, though, right? Like, they can't move off of Kamara.
He could retire.
Get on out of here, Alvin.
Two-headed monster between the two of them. They're an interesting team. I don't mind the Saints heading into this season. I think they could be a sneaky 9-8 type of a club.
I'll probably screw up my survivor pool again next year, too.
Elsewhere, the Tennessee Titans, this was always expected, have signed Wan'Dale Robinson to a 4-year deal. The money is where it surprised me a little bit, worth $78 million. Oh, my God. 4 years, $78 million for slot receiver Wan'Dale Robinson.
You were complaining about the Cardinals. What do you do in Tennessee?
So those are the 2 big signings. Chiefs also signed a nose tackle to like $7 million a year.
If you're the Titans and you've got that money, why not just throw that at Mike Evans?
I'm guessing he didn't want to go there.
Probably not.
Because it didn't fit the...
Also age.
But like, age, too. And he doesn't fit whatever
I'd rather take an old Mike Evans versus a not consistent Wan'Dale Robinson.
I hear you, but he doesn't fit... Listen, I agree.
Stop making excuses.
I agree. If I'm trying to understand their perspective on this, he has a history with Brian Dable.
Oh, that makes it better.
Played together in New York.
Works.
And B, he's younger.
Yeah.
And I think they're just trying to build with Cam Ward at the quarterback position. So these guys could potentially become a connection that's there for, 5 years. Whereas Mike Evans is probably more of a 1, maybe a 2-year type of a build. All right. On the Blues side of things, Alex, calling up Otto Stenberg and Theo Lindstein is really interesting. How do you fit these guys into the lineup? Because you're not just calling them up to sit on the bench. I would assume they're going to play. That's typically their MO. You look at the forward side of things, man, it's crowded.
Yeah.
Jonathan Drouin had a goal the other night and looked really good on the power play. He's also got a year left on his contract. I wouldn't think they're just going to healthy scratch him. Maybe Sonny comes out of the lineup, I guess. I don't think they're scratching anybody else in their top 9. I don't think Torpo or Finley are coming out. So how do they make this work, in your opinion?
I mean, first you got to go off what Doug Armstrong said during his press conference on Friday when he basically said, like, look, we're in the position now where we put guys in position we want to see how you look in. May you on a power play. If Lindstein's up here, I think they're going to be playing him. Same can be said about Otto Stenberg. The Lindstein one, I think, is probably a lot more easier to do. And Parayko comes back in, Justin Hull comes out, and then you're probably just taking Matt Kessel out of the lineup and putting Lindstein in there. Or maybe Tucker comes out and putting Lindstein in there. The Stenberg one, I don't know, because he doesn't slot into your top 6. You're not breaking up Thomas Holloway and Snuggerud. They finally just broke up that Neighbors, Kyrou, Buchnevich line because they wanted to have 3 centers. Buch went back to the wing. I guess if you're the Blues, you can just kind of do a rotation of scratching a Jonathan Drouin. Maybe you give Buchnevich a night off, a Pew Suter a night off. Maybe more realistically, it's Sundqvist comes out and Stenberg plays on your 4th line. And I know people are going to say, he's not a 4th line player. That's right, he's not. But you're getting him into the lineup. He's really good defensively, so he's going to play penalty kill minutes for you, probably get some power play time. And then as the game moves along, you start rotating guys around. He's the one that I'm just not sure about. A lot of the times, teams value having these guys just around the team, practices with the team. They have a lot of 2 days off coming up in the next couple of weeks, so maybe it's a couple of extra practices. But, man, if they're here, they're going to be playing. It's just a matter of who's coming out of the lineup.
Yeah. Stenberg's the one that it's a little tougher. Lindstein,
that one's
put
easier.
him in over either Tucker, Kessel, or Hall.
Yeah.
Honestly, you could just rotate it. He could play every game, and those guys get 1 night off a week.
And he's a left-handed defenseman. He's got offensive upside. You could put him on a second power play unit. Like, they just want to see what they have in these guys.
Yeah, that one, I'm actually disappointed in us that I didn't even think about the possibility.
Well, and rightfully so. I mean, like, he hasn't been great in the minors. Like, I just reached out. Hopefully we will be able to get Steve Ott on with us tomorrow to just kind of get his thoughts. But, I mean, like, Lindstein's a -24. Now, we know you don't look at plus minus in the American Hockey League because more times than not. I mean, they've been bad this season, so I don't look at the plus minus for a defenseman when the goaltending struggled.
He's
but
the worst on the team, though.
Yeah, in the last 7. Well, maybe he was as well, but look at him now, guys. But in the last 7 games, he's picked up points, and he's been playing much better under Steve Ott. That's the one that, I mean, I don't feel bad that we didn't even project it because, like, I don't know if it made sense at the time. And now it's just a matter of, hey, we're bad. Let's see what these guys have.
Stenberg's been a +4 down there. He's one of 2 players in the plus
He's a plus up here, too.
The team. He's just a good player, man. He makes winning plays.
That's why the fourth line makes some sense. You got offensive upside. You put him in over Sundqvist. You put him with Jack Finley and Toropchenko, and you see what they can do.
So here's my question, though. Does he have a future on the fourth line, or do you think he fits in with the top 9?
I think he fits into the top 9.
I agree with you. I don't think Jonathan Drouin fits in anywhere on this team in the future. Maybe next year. Maybe next year you trade Kyrou, you trade Booch, whatever. You make moves to where Drouin has a spot here for $4 million as a filler. That's possible. I'm not worried about him gaining chemistry with anybody, though. So I know this is going to sound really weird. T-Bone, I think you were the one that made this point.
Yeah, and I got weird looks in the office.
I think maybe you put Drouin on that fourth line. Again, I know it sounds weird because he's not a fourth line player, prototypically at least. He's not a defensive player. He's a guy that, but you put him on the fourth line, he plays a few minutes a night there, and then more importantly, he's in the lineup, so he's capable and eligible to play on your power play. And that's really where he's getting his time. Because I would rather have Stenberg getting those opportunities probably with like Suter and Booch or with Dvorsky and Kyrou.
Yeah, I'd rather have it with Dvorsky and Kyrou.
Either way, I would want him to play in the top 9 for me to see what that looks like.
I'm totally with you. I just don't think Jim Montgomery is going to put Drouin on a fourth line. Like, it makes sense in terms of the big picture. I think Jim Montgomery values that fourth line.
Him?
Probably.
I think that's what they might.
I think you might be health bombing a lot of these guys. Like, I think there's going to be a game where Pius Suter's a healthy scratch. I think there's going to be a game where
heard that before.
I think there's going to be. I think
there's on the fly.
No, I think so. I think there's going to be a game that, you know, maybe you see Buchnevich or something. I think it's just going to be a rotation because this is where the team's at. Like, where do you play into the future of the roster? Otto Stenberg is a second or third line winger for this team. He's good defensively, creates offensively. He's got speed. Like, that's a second or a third line winger for you. Let's look at the big picture. Who's going to be on this team next year or in 2 years? Drouin's not. His no trade goes to a 5-team no trade next season. So more than likely he might be gone. Maybe they move Kyrou in the offseason. Maybe they move Booch in the offseason. Maybe they move Pius Suter in the offseason. You've got to find a spot for Stenberg and then Carbonneau by next season. Yeah. So I don't know. I think you'll see them maybe play him on a fourth line, and then as he continues to progress, then you see him move up a little bit as other guys get health bombed throughout the rest of the season.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
It's an interesting decision. Our plan was at this segment, it's on the rundown right now, what's the plan with Otto Stenberg? Because it didn't seem as though there was a spot for him in the lineup. So if there's not, well, then what do? Do you just leave him down in the AHL and say, you know what, I know the sucks, you played really well when you were up here, but stay down there, keep improving. You're going to be an every night player for us next year.
Yeah.
Similar, honestly, to what the Dvorsky plan was a year ago. But Dvorsky wasn't ready last year, and Stenberg very clearly is.
Well, that's the thing.
He's an NHL player.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's no point in playing him for Springfield anymore. Even since he's been put down there, he's been awesome for them. So, like, he needs to stay up here the rest of the season. My tinfoil is the Blues thought they were going to be getting rid of more players at this year's deadline. And they didn't accomplish it, and they were like, crap, now what do we do? And we need Stenberg up here because he's going to be playing here next season in an accelerated role, so let's just move on with it. Like the Drouin acquisition, I told you guys, my speculation, tinfoil, was they took that on because they know they're going to be moving more money out in the offseason. Like, we're going to have to be at the cap floor, so let's just have a guy who's $4 million. Plus, you got better return from the Islanders by taking on Jonathan Drouin.
And that's my theory on it. I think you took him on because the Islanders wanted to get rid of his money for this year and next. And in order to offset some of the Schenn money, they said, here, we've got Jonathan Drouin. You guys can take him. and we'll give you an extra asset in return, whether that's the prospect, the pick, whatever it is. But I think that's probably like that. They got third round, right? That was the
third round and a first round.
That's
and that
typically
prospect.
the kind of money you'd expect if you're taking on this level of a contract.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that was added in for the Drew.
I think this really is going to be Druin's probably a healthy scratch.
That's what I think so, too.
I think, look, you got a power play goal. It was a really good goal. Jonathan Drouin is Mike Hoffman. He's a power play threat, and that's really all he's going to provide you. And if you're looking at it, if you're the Blues, it's like, look, Drouin, you'll get in. We're happy to have you. You'll get in if injuries pop up or guys need rest, but you're going to come out. And Stenberg's going to go in. And then Berggren's the other one that's just going to be a healthy scratch, and you'll rotate that fourth line
and
where
that one,
Sundqvist comes
whatever.
out.
Berggren, I don't think really has much of a future here anyways.
It's interesting, though. Like, I think, like, Berggren's played well, and he creates. He's like the perfect third line forward. I just think he's that guy that comes in and out of the lineup moving forward. So Stenberg stays in the lineup, and I think that's probably the smartest spot to put him in, to have Stenberg with Suter and Buchnevich and keep Neighbors and Kyrou with Dvorsky and just kind of rotate from there.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. We've got some more updates from the NFL. We'll give you the latest on all of that and how today the NFL's free agency could potentially impact the upcoming NFL draft. We'll get into all of that next year on 101 ESPN. All right, we mentioned in a couple of segments ago, the New Orleans Saints have signed Travis Etienne to a big contract. Now, Ian Rappaport saying on NFL Network, Alvin Kamara might be a retire candidate.
Well, I'd retire too when you just signed my predecessor.
I pulled up Alvin Kamara's wiki because I was curious how old he is. He's 30 years old right now. He also maintains 3 NFL records: 1 rushing touchdowns in a game, 2 points scored in a game, and 3 career 2-point conversions. Didn't know that.
BK's freaking out over here with the 2-point conversions.
Is it Travis Kelce?
Yeah,
He
it's
had
got to be Kelce.
7 2-point conversions in his NFL career. Marshall Faulk also had 7. Saquon Barkley had 7. And there's a tight end who also has 7, tied for those 3 other running backs.
Got to be Travis
for
Kelce.
most in NFL history. It is not Travis Kelce.
Mark Andrews.
It is not Mark Andrews.
George Kittle.
It is not George Kittle.
Okay,
it is Zach Ertz, believe it or not.
That makes sense.
I would have needed a lot more hints. to get to
7
that.
career 2-point conversions. So that's your trivia for today. All right. Alex, let's dive into some NFL quick hitters. It is the unofficial kickoff of the NFL's free agency period. And like half of the top free agents are already off the board. This is great.
checks
I
out.
love this. So let's go like legit rapid fire edition, okay? 1, former Packers quarterback Malik Willis. He was considered to be a potential first-round pick once upon a time. Then he dropped, and then he ends up being terrible for the Tennessee Titans. Goes to the Green Bay Packers last year. Has like a good game for them. Now he's getting absolutely paid $25 million a year by the Miami Dolphins. What do you think?
I think you're the Dolphins. You got to try and do something. And this is, in their eyes, an upgrade over Tua. I think the roster is bad. They obviously have no appetite to blow it up because Waddle and Achane are still on that team. So I think they're signing it out of desperation to try and make something out of their bad roster, and they're going to continue to be bad.
This is how bad teams stay bad. Jalen Phillips, T-Bone, signed with the Carolina Panthers. That wasn't altogether surprising. A 4-year, $120 million contract, though, for Jalen Phillips, whose career high in sacks in any individual season is...
Isn't it like 5?
5.
Woof.
No, it's 8.5. He had 8.5 in his rookie year. His sacks over the last few years, though, 1, 3, 2, 5. Not what you're looking for. T-Bone, what do you think of the $120 million deal for Jalen Phillips with the Carolina Panthers?
I think it's a massive overpay, but you know what? When you're a losing organization, you know what you got to do to get guys to your organization? You got to overpay for them. So if Carolina thinks that they can get back to that 8.5 sack guy, only way you were going to lure him there was to overpay for him. So I kind of like the move for Carolina. It's an overpay, but I like the fact that they're trying to upgrade the defense.
Kenneth Walker to the Chiefs, 3 years, $43 million, $28 million guaranteed. I love it. You're going to hear a lot of people nationally that are saying it's an overpay. Can't believe the Chiefs did this. $15 million a year to a running back is just too much. They have so many other needs. And all of that is true. It is a lot of money.
You'll hear a lot of Chiefs fans say they're going to win a
Paying
Super Bowl.
running backs is, generally speaking, a risky proposition. Sure seemed to work out pretty well for the 49ers, though. Sure seemed to work out pretty well for the Baltimore Ravens, though. Sure seemed to work out pretty well for the Philadelphia Eagles, though. If you've got a game-breaking talent at the running back position, this is actually not that much money. It's basically what the Seattle Seahawks last year paid to Cooper Kupp. You're telling me you'd rather have Cooper Kupp at this point in his career than Kenneth Walker? Of course not.
Did you just compare Kenneth Walker to Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey?
And Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
I don't think he's that guy.
He's not. He's also not getting paid as much as them relative to them.
Your Chiefs Reds coming out.
No, Kenneth Walker is a good running back.
Agreed.
And you pay for good players. And at $15 million, you can have Kenneth Walker or the wide receiver equivalent of Cooper Kupp. Or you can get half of Jalen Phillips. Like, you just aren't getting that great of a player at the cornerback, defensive end, or wide receiver position for this level of money. And Kenneth Walker is, what, a top 10-ish running back in the NFL right now? You're not getting a top 10 player at any other position for this kind of cash. You're getting more of a top 50 guy at their respective positions.
Hey, man, you didn't need to sell me until you started saying he's Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey, and then I was out on this,
Alec
man.
Pierce re-signs with the Colts, 4 years, $116 million.
Overpay.
They got a lot of money there.
Good thing you got Alec Pierce locked up.
There were a bunch of trades earlier today, none of them particularly huge. The Ravens added Max Crosby over the weekend. 2 first-round picks heading to the Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders, by the way, remain busy today. They signed Tyler Linderbaum to a new market-setting deal for a center. $25+ million per year for Tyler Linderbaum. That is now the new market for the top-paid centers. Here's a question for you, Alex. Chiefs signed a running back. They had been one of the most likely candidates to take a running back in the first round with Jeremiah Love. Saints also just signed a running back in Travis Etienne. That was another popular mock draft spot for Jeremiah Love in the first round. What does all of this mean? Where do you guys think Jeremiah Love goes? Do you think they signed those players because they knew, hey, Jeremiah Love's going before us, we're not even going to have a chance to draft him in the first round? What do you think happens now?
You think he goes to the Cardinals at 3 after they sign Tyler Algier to a contract? because the Cardinals are a well-run organization.
The Raiders won't do it. We know what they're going to do. The Jets already have Breece Hall on that contract. The Cardinals have James Conner and Tyler Algier.
I think the Titans is where you start talking about it. I think Titans. I think
Giants, you can never count them
the
out
Browns, I don't think so because Judkins was really good for them this past year. So I think Titans, Commanders, and
Giants.
then you're talking about it potentially going beyond them. Then you're talking about potentially out of the top 10 or a team's trading up to get into the top 10 to get him.
Boy, if the Titans do it, it would remind me that they're just an ill-competent organization. I could see it, though. Would Washington do it? I could maybe see the Commanders doing that as well.
You got your offensive linemen. You got some weapons. You got to go out there and get another one.
I mean, they got a defense that they really need to address, but maybe they're looking at it right now going, we can figure that out in a year or two. Let's just really load up on the blue chip talent on the offensive side of the ball. So the Commanders would be the team that I would highlight.
That's a hell of an offense if you're the Commanders to have McLaren along with.
And it sounds like they're probably going to be signing Brandon Ayuk as well.
Yeah, I mean that's
I don't know if he's going to play football again. Like he's been MIA for a while.
I don't know if I'd brag about that one, but I mean that's a hell of an offense. And if you're the Commanders and you're looking for a rebound, that's how you do it. That's how you get people even more excited. You go out there and you get Jeremiah Love.
Can I present a fun one?
Sure.
The Bengals?
I don't think he's dropping this far. No, although that would fit the
Bengals would be wild.
The Rams?
13 to the Rams.
I don't think he gets there.
I don't think he's dropping that far.
I think Cowboys take him if he gets that low.
Do you think they would do it?
I think they might. I mean, you get a cost control running back, and you add him into an offense that's got Puka, Devontae Adams, Kyron starting to get up there in age. I like Blake Corn, but I don't know that he's very explosive. I think he's more of that secondary piece with someone. I think they would consider it at 13, especially now that they've addressed the cornerback room.
I just don't think he gets there.
I don't either. I think these teams, I think the Saints and the Chiefs signed these running backs in part because they got pretty good intel that, hey, he's not going to be there when you guys select at 8 or 9. I think he's going either 4, 5, or 7. That's to the Titans, the Giants, or the Washington Commanders. I think one of those 3 ends up drafting Jeremiah Love. The more we've seen of this draft class, the more it appears there's just not premium talent at premium positions. There is premium talent at non-premium positions. So you're looking at running back, tight end, linebacker, safety. Those are the positions where the best players seem to be in this year's draft. Hell, there's even a tackle that might have too short of arms to play tackle, so he's going to have to bump into guard, and he's considered to be one of the best players. So if you're one of those teams, normally you'd lean on edge rusher, wide receiver, quarterback, etc. They don't have those players up there this year. So maybe you do end up saying, you know what, we'll just take the guy that we think is the best player. He has 0 questions. Just plug him in, especially with the Titans, Giants, and Commanders all having these young quarterbacks. What's the best friend of a young quarterback? Get a good running game next to him, an explosive running game next to him, which has been the biggest thing in the NFL in recent years. 314-399-9646. That's the Air Comfort Service text line to get involved in the show. We will continue to pass along any other news that we get from the NFL as we see it. Have you guys seen anything else that we need to pass along? I've been looking at the text line and some of these
I got
signings.
distracted looking at Libby's advanced metrics.
I'm the one that's focused right now, and I haven't seen anything.
$27 million a year for a center. I still can't believe that, man. That's wild.
And it's like almost $10 million more than the second highest paid
Meanwhile,
center.
the best centers in the NHL get paid $12 million.
What?
I said, meanwhile, the best centers in the NHL get paid $12 million.
I don't know how that's related at all. But
These guys are blocking 300-pound men.
And the NFL's cap is $300 million.
I just think it's ridiculous.
The NHL's is
I
100.
just think it's
Sport in
ridiculous.
this country.
I just think it's ridiculous. These guys are overpaid. Pay the guys the real money. McDavid's doing the things that Gretzky's never done. That's not true. Gretzky
You know
did
what?
all
Actually,
of this.
the Raiders should have called Connor McDavid and said, "Hey, can you please come help us?
you call out
We need
pass
somebody.
protection?
Be a
we
better
need
offensive
somebody-
lineman than those guys.
We need somebody that can block Chris Jones. It's really been a problem for us.
McDavid could do it.
McDavid's got this.
Yeah, McDavid could do it.
All right.
I'd like to see Lindbaum go out there and deke out a couple of defensemen and put one top shelf.
I bet he can't skate.
I think neither of those is particularly likely.
McDavid's more likely.
Coming up in about 15 minutes, we'll get into the rewind. But next, Alex was listening to an interview that Robert Thomas did a little bit earlier today with Jeff Merrick. We'll pass along some of the biggest tidbits from that interview. And we are getting some more information on how the Colton Parayko and Brayden Schenn deals officially did and did not go down. We'll get into that next year on 101 ESPN.
Tanner Hendrickson here at the Sports Center update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Breaking news in the NFL. Mike Evans, according to Adam Schefter, is signing a 3-year deal with the San Francisco 49ers. And the St. Louis Blues will be back in action tomorrow night as they will be taking on Brayden Schenn and the New York Islanders. We'll have pregame coverage starting at 5:30 with Alex Ferrario. Puck drop at 6:30 with Chris Kerber and Joey Vitale. And the Blues did make 2 roster moves earlier today as they recalled Otto Stenberg and Theo Lindstein from the AHL. This Sports Center update was brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, a Daikin heating and air conditioning dealer.
Alongside Alex and T-Bone, I'm BK. Mike Evans, a 3-year deal with the San Francisco 49ers. T-Bone, how you feeling today?
I hate the freaking 49ers. They always are good.
Back to being the second best team in the NFC West.
I still think the Rams are the best team, and I like the fact, again, they needed to upgrade their secondary. A big reason for that is so they don't get picked apart by Mike Evans and JSN in their own division.
It's going to be a fun offense once again. Mike Evans, Ricky Pearsall, George Kittle.
Jawan Jennings.
We'll see. He's a free agent.
That's true.
Still have Christian McCaffrey in the backfield as well. You guys want to change your opinion on the Seahawks making the playoffs yet?
No.
You still good with it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm still good with it because I don't know who else is going to knock them out of that
I just think the 3 teams in the NFC West are better than all of the other teams.
Yeah. Because
Chicago, Green Bay, Detroit,
Green Bay
Dallas,
doesn't have anybody to throw to.
I think
Seattle's
those teams
better.
are all potentially better than the Seahawks next year.
I think Seattle's better than all of those teams right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
You
not
just
in
hate
on,
Sam Darnold.
I'm not in on the Green Bay Packers being a playoff team.
Yeah, they don't have anybody to throw to, man.
They'll be fine.
Yeah, I know they will.
Either.
According to you, they're going to be the best team in the NFC next season.
It's not a Sunday, so of course BK's excited about
That's
them.
right.
Jordan Love, ladies and gentlemen.
If only they played this Sunday, he would be able to fall off the wagon again on Monday.
No, he never falls off the wagon.
No, I do when I watch them. it's when I've had a little bit of time. No.
That checks out.
Distance makes the heart grow fonder. Never is that more evident than me with the Green Bay Packers.
Come here for your NFL coverage.
So, Alex, the Blues decided to trade Brayden Schenn, tried to trade Colton Parayko. We got some details on the Parayko situation from JR's piece. If you haven't read it, it's
amazing.
Really worth your time. It presents the image of Colton Parayko that we've always both heard and seen behind the scenes. He's genuinely just one of the nicest human beings you'll ever meet. And so much so that at a certain point, according to this piece from Jeremy Rutherford, Colton Parayko calls his agent and says, hey, should I reach out to Buffalo to let them know? And his agent says, yeah, I think that would be a good idea. So Colton calls the Buffalo side of things and says, hey, no, probably not going to do this. He did it so softly, let them down so easy, that Buffalo's GM then calls Colton Parayko's agent and says, man, I think we could still potentially get something done here. Yeah. And Parayko's agent said, no, that's just how nice Colton. He is. He just didn't want to disappoint you.
That's so.
That is who Colton Parayko is. That's who he's always been. And he decided, he said in the piece, I can't even make a decision on if I want a latte or a cold brew.
I can actually see that being behind him at Starbucks, and Parayko's like, you go in front of me. I still am trying to decide.
So he certainly couldn't make the decision on whether or not he was going to go to Buffalo. Yeah. He had nothing but kind things to say about the city of Buffalo, but decided he would rather stay, especially right now here in the city of St. Louis. On the Schenn thing, there was a little bit of insight on that, Alex, from Elliot Friedman today on the 32 Thoughts podcast. He just said, hey, if they weren't in the same hotel as the Islanders, he's not sure that deal would have gotten done because the Islanders were able to sell their vision to Schenn in person, and that was able to sell him on why he should be a New York Islander. What did you take away from some of the insight we gained over the weekend on those two potential deals?
I think the Parayko one is the one that hits home the most, and it's mostly because I've gone back and forth with people on social media over the weekend, and Greg Wyshynski and I have gone back and forth about this because Greg thinks that the leak came from the Blues. He's like, look at their track record. Torrey Krug's information was leaked. So, of course that they leaked this. And I still fall back on, like, who benefits the most from leaking that information? Pierre LeBrun had it in there in his update over the weekend that, like, Buffalo needed an answer quickly. So, yeah, they would leak that information. And then seeing what JR reported on in terms of how Colton Parayko handled that thing, it's like you think that guy and the Blues are trying to push that thing through. I just don't see it. I think the Torrey Krug thing makes a lot more sense than this one. And frankly, I think it was bulletin board material for Buffalo to leak it, right? Get the deal done fast so we can move to our next one. And if it doesn't go through, well, now we can look at it as he said no to Buffalo. And now we're going to rally against that. So it sucked that Parayko was put into that position. I actually think if Parayko had a couple of weeks to decide, like if this trade went down back in the end of January and you had a month to decide, I think there's a chance Parayko might have gone to Buffalo.
Maybe.
It's just too quick to make the decision. I love the fact that he said, though, to Jeremy Rutherford, I want to be a part of this. So hopefully they'll move forward with that. We don't know what's going to happen. The Schenn one I fully agree on. Like, I think the only people were asking, like, well, then why didn't the Schenn stuff leak if it was coming from the other side? Because the Islanders needed an answer. The Islanders were in the same building as him. They had to walk to his room to talk to him to figure out if he was going to agree to the deal.
That one apparently happened an hour and a half before the deadline. Like, that's when the deal had come together. Parayko's deal was a couple of days before the deadline. So there was a significant difference on the timing and the need to then pivot to something different.
Yeah, and I think the Islanders had already been told no on a lot of the trades they wanted to pull off, and this was probably the last resort to try and make a move that they can afford to make. So I don't think the Blues leaked the Parayko stuff. I think Buffalo side, but regardless, I think both handled the situation well, and it's to be determined with Parayko moving forward to see what happens in the offseason.
The other bit of news that we wanted to pass along, Robert Thomas was on with Jeff Merrick, one of our favorites, on The Sheet, the podcast that he does. So he went over there, did an exclusive interview with both Jeff Merrick and Greg Wyshynski on this show. Alex, he said he was never asked to waive his no trade clause and never asked for a trade either. Did you find anything else? I know you were listening to this interview. Yeah. Did you find anything else interesting from that interview?
I mean, like, take it with a grain of salt because what do you expect him to say? But he did basically talk about how, like, look, you know, I want to be a part of this. I've never wavered off the fact that I want to be a part of the Blues moving forward. He did mention that he wants to be on a competitive team and, you know, they'll readdress the direction, but they've kind of already addressed it. So it seems like Robert Thomas is fine with where he's at, not wanting to move for now, and talked a little bit about the leadership role. And I really wonder if this is just Robert Thomas making his case to be the captain next year.
Interesting.
I think your competition is going to come down to three guys, and Doug addressed this. They're not naming it right now. They shouldn't name it because Doug's not in charge after this season. Steen is. Steen Montgomery will have the conversation about what to do. I think their competition is between Thomas, Neighbors, and Colton Parayko. Those are the three that they're going to decide on in terms of the captain of the St. Louis Blues going into next season.
And my guess is it'll be one of Thomas or Neighbors.
My guess is that as well, because you're going to want the timeline in terms of bigger picture rather than Colton Parayko, whether he's here for the contract or not. It's either this season or he's here for the next 3 seasons.
Do you think they would consider, I'm just floating this name out there because we've heard about his work ethic, Dylan Holloway?
I don't think so. I think he would just be the letter A.
I agree.
Yeah. I think that's more of a lead by example. I think that's more of what Alexander Steen was, Keith Tkachuk, Jay Bomeister were. Like, I think that's hey, he's a leader in his own sense, but we kind of want the guys that are the vocal leaders in the room, and I think that's Jake Neighbors versus the Robert Thomas, who's trying to be more of a vocal leader.
He's Alex, that's T-Bone, I'm BK. This Sunday is Selection Sunday, and you can get signed up to play in this year's Bracket Madness Pick'em Challenge at 101ESPN.com. Once the bracket is filled out on Sunday night, you can fill out your bracket. Free to enter. This year's top scorer will take home a $250 Amazon gift card and a 101 ESPN prize pack. It's all available at 101ESPN.com. Bracket Madness is refreshed by Bud Light. T1, I saw you looking at me. What just happened?
T-Bone's losing it over here.
Boys, Joshua Baez just killed another baseball. Another big fly to left field for Joshua Baez.
I don't know who that guy Domingo Herman or no? I think it's just a
I don't know, but that was a big fly from Joshua Baez.
Yeah, it kind of matters who he's. Nestor Herman.
Okay.
Oh, that guy's a stud.
Last year at AAA, which is where he pitched, he had a 7 ERA.
Sounds like Baez is going to hit home runs in AAA this year.
In all seriousness, he spent most of the season at AA, had a 3.76 ERA. So At least he
Way
had
to go,
some
T-Bone.
level of success last year.
It was
Chase Davis, Joshua Baez in the corners this season.
Holt, by the way, also an Oppo Taco the other way. Sheesh. This offense might be great.
Coming up next, the
I'm not gonna be
Rewind
able
here
to
on
handle
101 ESPN. Seems like things are starting to slow down a bit in the NFL. The Fast Lane will have any further updates for you guys as they go along today.
All the contracts have been signed already.
Man, like
4 days ago.
The top 20 free agents, I think, are already off the board.
The NFL for you.
NFL free agency has not actually officially taken place yet.
That's why their off seasons is so, like, I don't want to say boring, but it's so front loaded to where it's like you get the excitement right away, and then
it's the NHL.
Yeah, kind of. Well, no, NHL's
No, it's
I feel like NHL's drags because you're always waiting for the best guy to sign, and it takes like 10 days, and then he finally signs.
Yeah, I think it's just
I
like
think
the
some of
NFL.
those guys take a while.
Yeah, who was the last guy that did that?
Never happens.
I don't know. I have to pull up the free agents.
Look it up right now.
I feel like
most of the time those guys sign day one.
Yeah,
it's kind of similar to
that's
this.
why I love the NFL and NHL offseason because it's done within 3 days, outside of like maybe some hockey trades or some football trades that come along. But it's done and it doesn't drag out, and then you can have some storylines.
The other thing with it is you then have all the storylines that lead into the draft. Like we're 6 weeks away now from the NFL draft as well. So that becomes the next storyline is how does free agency impact what's going to happen in the draft? So
look, man, I was trying to advance the conversation. I don't want to have it anymore. Can we move on?
Okay. Yep. If you guys missed anything from today's show, be sure to check it out on the podcast page. 101ESPN.com or the free 101 ESPN app is where you go to find it. It's all sponsored by
Schaefer Door Company.
That is where you can find the latest edition of both the Last Minute Blues podcast. Alex and Donnie reacted to everything that took place in the NHL's deadline for the Blues. 4,500 folks have already watched that. You can be the next over on the YouTube page at youtube.com/101ESPNSTL. Please also download and subscribe to the podcast wherever it is that you get your podcasts. Just search for BK and Ferrario. Once you search for that, you can click on the subscribe now button. That'll make sure that anytime that we put out a new edition of the Last Minute Blues podcast, Redbird Report, or any of our daily interviews or shows, it'll immediately be sent to your phone and you'll be able to check out whatever it is that you missed from that day's show. All right, Alex, to finish out the show today before we hand things back over to the Fast Lane, let's talk a little bit about the Blues again. Their top line is suddenly playing well. They've won 4 games in a row. They're screwing up this top 3 overall selection.
Man.
What have you learned about the Blues, especially over the weekend with a couple of games?
That part of the reason the Blues have struggled early on this season is their best guys just weren't healthy. And I mean, I know people will hear that as an excuse. I kind of fall into that category, but it's hard to deny seeing what Robert Thomas, Dylan Holloway, Jimmy Snuggerud are doing as a line right now. They are driving offense these last 3 games, and it's why there's a little part of me that really wonders if they could go on some type of run the rest of the way. Their goaltending has been elite. Defensively, you're continuing to see improvements from guys like Logan Mailloux. They're a dangerous team right now. I don't know what it's going to look like the rest of the way. Frankly, I don't really buy into they're screwing up their positioning in the draft. I don't think they're going to fall any further than the 5th worst record. And honestly, you could have had the 2nd worst record and fall to the 4th or 5th overall pick. So let the chips fall where they may. Right now, they're playing well. And frankly, you need Holloway and Snuggerud to look as good as they've been looking.
Other news to pass, or other thing that I wanted to pass along here, Matthew Liberatore had 16 swings and misses today. It's the most for any pitcher in a single appearance so far this spring. Richard Fitz also, it was a bit of an up and down outing in terms of the overall results. The stuff was once again there, though. You could see the velo. You can see all the reasons why the Cardinals would bet on a pitcher like him. And T-Bone came into the show today saying the Cardinals should not only have J.J. Weatherholt starting at second base on opening day, but they should also break camp with a rookie left fielder. T-Bone, why?
Yeah, I'm open to the idea of bringing Joshua Baez. If the Cardinals determine that this big boy's ready for the major leagues, they've got an opening in left field, I'd be open to the idea of giving him a runway for the first month. And if he takes off, he takes off, and then we can have a conversation when Newpart comes back. But I'm open-minded to it, and he showed up today with a big fly to left field.
Against a guy who will be cut from the Houston Astros spring training roster after this game today.
Or Baltimore Orioles, depending on which team they're playing today.
I just saw orange. No, dude, these late games / daylight savings, it's finally kicked in on your boy, so I need to go home and go to bed. Oh, wait, I can't. I've got 3 kids when I get home.
My personal opinion
We'll switch.
On the situation with Joshua Baez. I love that he's having so much success in spring training. It's great for the Cardinals. They desperately need some corner outfielders to emerge. This has been their biggest issue for, like a decade now? And they have been searching for answers in the corner outfield. if Joshua Baez can be that next guy, you will see nobody that is more excited than this guy right here. I love watching super athletic, good defenders in the corner outfields that can have pop at the plate. That would be amazing. I do not think there's any scenario in which it will make sense for them to do so on opening day.
Yeah, T-Bone.
Give it time. Allow him to go and get his first taste at the AAA level, much less the major league level. I think it's great that he's getting good feedback, positive feedback right now from some of these major league pitchers, or at least pitchers that are capable of reaching the major leagues in spring training. There's no reason to send him down today. But sooner rather than later, you will probably see the news. Joshua Baez has been optioned to the minor league camp, and that's not only fine, that's the right decision. They have fallen for spring training stats far too often before. They did it with Jordan Walker a few years ago, and there was a lot of criticism that followed. Do not make the same mistake once again. Send him down to AAA. Don't rush it. Allow him to continue to develop at the level that he's currently expected to start at. And then you get midway through the year, he's great. Cool, call him up. Whenever you trade Lars Nootbaar, there's a spot that emerges there. If you decide, hey, that timing is actually May, cool, that's fine by me. But do not start things out with him at the major league level, putting that unjust pressure on a kid that should be playing at the AAA level this year.
Tomorrow, I'll tell you why Chase Davis should open up the season with the big leagues.
He's clearly not ready now. Baez.
He's hit more home runs than Baez in this game.
He might be my favorite Cardinal now.
Okay.
Wow,
He's
already.
T-Bone. That's Alex.
Yeah.
I'm BK. It's BK and Ferrario here on 101
Hits the ball
ESPN.
hard.
Tomorrow, we are expected to be joined by Derek Gould, Cardinals insider. We'll ask him what he thinks of T-Bone's idea to start the season with Joshua Baez in
I can't
left
wait for
field.
that answer.
We'll also talk to Jeremy Rutherford. We're hoping to be joined this week as well by
Jeff Merrick, Steve Ott.
and potentially Tom Stillman as well.
Tom Stillman as well.
A lot to get into the rest of the week. The Fast Lane's coming up next here on 101 ESPN.